All right, I want to welcome everybody to our May Historic District Board of Review meeting. To start the meeting off, I'll have Brooke do roll call.
Josh Wilbur,
Present?
Carol Ann Rogers,
Present.
Owen McCall,
Present.
Mike Pittman,
Here.
Sandy Palmer,
Here.
Michael Zink, and Ken McWilliams.
All right, the first thing on our agenda tonight is the Preservation Month proclamation and awards. This is a really big deal for us as a historic district board of review. We did not get a chance to do this last year, but we had done it the year before then, recognizing some really good work that has been done in our community that are good models for what everyone else can take a look at and know that this is what we're looking for. So with that, I'm going to ask the mayor to come up here and give a few words. So.
Well, thank you. You know, Madison is well known for its historic districts, and I travel the state, and I'm with a lot of other mayors, and they envy what we have here in Madison. They wish they had our Main Street, our historic district, our riverfront, the things that give our community character, charm, authenticity, and we keep investing in it. You guys are the reason our historic district looks so beautiful, is because of the investment you're willing to make in it, and the support of our policies, our incentives, the organizations that advocate for historic preservation is what makes Madison really special. From a brand perspective, Madison is known all over the country for its historic district. I don't know if you've noticed or not on our social media side, but throughout the course of May, which is Historic Preservation Month, we've been featuring different types of historic preservation across our community. So if you haven't seen any of those, go to the City of Madison website. You'll see various different examples. I think they were probably our community communications group was doing some features just about every month, or I'm sorry, every week throughout the course of the month. And we want to bring a close to Preservation Month by reading a proclamation. I think it's very befitting that we're doing this evening, where we're also recognizing a lot of the preservation investments that you guys have made across the community. I'm gonna have to wear my glasses because this is really dark. What's that? I'll be happy to do that at the mic. This is National Historic Preservation Month proclamation. Whereas on June the 8th, 1906, President Theodore Roosevelt signed into law, may I invite John Stacy up here with Historic Madison, Inc., because I'm going to actually present the proclamation to you, and if any of your board members are here, John, giving the U.S. President the authority to create national monuments from public lands to protect significant natural, cultural, or scientific features. On October 15, 1966, the National Historic Preservation Act, the most far-reaching preservation legislation ever enacted in the United States, was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Link, may I invite you up here as well, because you're the president of Cornerstone Society, our two main historic preservation advocacy organizations. The National Register of Historic Preservation established May as National Historic Preservation Month in 1973 to promote historic places for the purpose of instilling national and community pride, promoting heritage and tourism, and showing the social, economic, and cultural benefits of historic preservation. Whereas People Saving Places is the theme for National Historic Preservation Month 2023. A great example of which includes the City of Madison's PACE Investment Incentive Program, private investment, and National Quality Historic District investments by Historic Madison, Inc. And whereas the historic houses, buildings, and cultural sites in Madison help make it unique and foster local pride, maintaining community character while enhancing livability. Historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Madisonians of all ages and walks of life and ethnic backgrounds. It's important to celebrate the role history it has in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of heritage that has shaped us as a community. Whereas Madison has beautiful architecture and many notable nationally designated buildings, a National Landmark Historic District, and 2 National Historic Landmark sites. Therefore, today, Bob Courtney, Mayor of the City of Madison, which was founded in 1809, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as National Historic Preservation Month and call upon residents of the city of Madison to join others across the United States in participating in this special observance. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys for your role in historic preservation. And John, I'd like to present this proclamation to you, sir. And again, these are our preservation leaders.
I'm so glad I knew that person.
All right, so we're going to read off the award recipients for 2023. And when we do, if you would, come up here. We'll present the certificate to you. You'll get a picture with Mr. Mayor Courtney. I want to say Courtney all the time, so everyone's like mayor in here. But we'll get a picture with him. And then at the end, we'll have everyone come up. We're going to do a big group photo as well. So if you would stay to the end of the awards, and then we're going to do a group one, and then we'll get into all of our applications. So with that, we'll get to our first award, and
I got a 5-point zoom.
I might go with a pano right here. Down, so I can see over it. Oh, excuse me. You get where you need to be. You get where you need to be. Everybody hold really still.
Everyone smile. Thank you.
All right, ready for the meeting? All right. Yes, yeah. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the approval of our April minutes. Do we have any questions, concerns, edits?
I move we approve them as submitted.
All right, do we have a second?
A second.
All right, Brooke?
Josh Wilbur,
Approve.
Carol Ann Rogers,
Approve.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
Sandy Palmer, and Ken McWilliams.
Approve.
All right. Okay, we'll get to our first application, but before we do, I'll just let you know a little bit of how the application process goes for those that have not done this before. I will call or I'll say the name of the address for the application. The person that is representing the application, if you would, at that point in time, come up to the podium. I will have you state your name and your address, and then Brooke, at that point in time, will go over a brief summary of your project. After she is done with her summary, you'll have a chance to add anything to it if needed. Then at that point, the board will have a chance to ask any questions that they have of the project, and then I will give a chance to the audience to speak in support or against, or ask questions if you have of the project. And at that point, we will go to what's called a findings of fact. And then after the findings of fact is concluded, then we will take a vote. If it is an approved vote, you will get your certificate of appropriateness in the mail, and then you will be able to begin your project as long as you have all the proper building permits as well. All right, so try to make it as simple as possible for you. All right, so our first application is 835 West Main Street. How are you doing?
Good.
It's-
Devin Scudder, 835 West Main
All right,
Street.
thank you, Devin. All right, Brooke?
This is a circa 1860 Italianate. It is a contributing structure zone specialty district. The COA request is to replace the existing rear door on a non-historic addition with a new glass and metal double door. So I'll go through the photographs. You can see the rear of the structure here. The door we're referencing is the one on the right that has the white framing and it's glass. And this is the proposed new door that will go in that spot. And that is all I have.
Do you have anything to add?
Not
Sorry,
really.
I was gonna ask a question. So I assume you're wanting to widen this door then? with this
Yes, we're
proposal?
restricted to 32 inches to get any equipment or anything in there. And we want to widen it to get equipment.
And how wide?
It's a double door, around 5 foot,
Okay,
maybe.
that's 60 inches. So is it more than 60?
I got the measurements.
I believe it is 60.
Okay. 60, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And as you, like you said, it's for deliveries and things in the back there, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it got approved for a kitchen.
Okay,
So
okay.
there needs to be, they can't get ovens and
Right.
refrigeration in there. So that's kind of the issue at the moment.
Okay. Makes sense, okay. Other questions from the board?
None.
Are you looking at real glass, or are you looking at more like safety glass? You know, what's the
It was
thought process
purchased
there?
through Glass Unlimited.
Okay,
They have the specs. I told them what it was, so I
Okay.
believe it's safety glass.
Safety
I think
glass,
It
okay.
has to be, yeah.
okay, yeah, I'd say for a commercial business,
Right.
normally, especially in the back, you know, I was
Yep.
thinking it might be, okay. All right, and frosted, or it's gonna be clear?
I believe clear,
Okay,
yes.
all right. All right. No other questions, board? All right, any questions, concerns, support from the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll go to our findings of fact. Ken, you want to start us off
Sure.
tonight? Thank you.
So, real simple. So, Devin, we have our guidelines that point us to our decision. And so, on page 59 to 61, doors and entrances, it goes, a new opening may be permitted on a rear or side elevation if not readily visible from the public right-of-way. And the new entrance should still be compatible in scale, size, proportion to the building. And so I believe this project is in conformance to the guidelines.
Carol Ann?
I agree.
All right. Mike?
I agree for the same reason.
Owen?
I agree for the same reasons.
Sandy?
I agree for the same reasons.
And I too agree for the same reasons. With that, we'll accept a motion.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review approve a certificate of appropriateness to Devin Scudder to replace the existing rear door on a non-historic addition with a new glass and metal double door at 835 West Main Street.
All right. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right. Brooke?
Josh Wilbur,
Approve.
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Sandy Palmer,
Approve.
Ken McWilliams,
Approve.
and Carolyn Rogers.
Approve.
All right, Devin, with that, you will get your COA in the mail, so congratulations to you,
Thank you.
and good luck.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right, our next application is 119 East Street. Good evening.
My name's Ken Pettit. I'm here on behalf of my wife Linda and myself, and we're at 119 East Street.
All right, thank you very much. Brooke?
This is a circa 1870 Italianate structure. It is contributing zoned historic district residential. The COA request is to replace existing wood windows with aluminum-clad wood windows of the same size, shape, and design. And I'll go through some of the photos that the applicants have submitted. This is a historic photo from the from the Habs in the 70s that was taken. This is a description provided by the contractor of the proposed replacement windows. And these are photos that the applicants have submitted of the existing windows. And that is all I have.
Do you have anything more to add to that?
I do.
Okay.
I actually, in talking with Mike, he had suggested I get more pictures with details. Would you, I've got some files with more pictures if I could give those to you.
Board, do you want to look at these pictures?
I would like to look
Okay.
at the
So yes,
front
please.
East Street.
Come on, yeah, you can bring them on up.
Sure, absolutely.
Here, we'll start down there with Ken.
Those are all those same folders, same information.
Everything in the contents is the same.
Oh, it's all the same, okay.
Yes,
I thought they were
sorry.
different things, okay.
Ken, you have to share.
Yeah.
Darn Ken.
You'll find the same information that Brooke has put on the screen as far as the bid and the explanation of the product that we're going to put in, the windows we're going to put in.
So
There's
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Then there's also 3 sets of pictures in there explaining the issues we might have with the ground level front of the home, and then the ground level side windows, and then finally the second level windows. And each one of those probably or could require a bit of an explanation, but several of our windows, in fact, all of our windows are non-operable. They're either caulked shut or painted shut and have been for the 14 years that we've lived there. And that's, I'm kind of ashamed to say that internal parts of our windows have never been cleaned. So hopefully there's nobody from the paper that's going to put that in. But,
They are here, but
and then, as far as some of the ground level front windows, those windows do go all the way down to floor level, and they do not have the tempered glass. So we have a bit of a safety concern for those windows.
Okay.
That would be in the picture's numbered 1.
hold on a second.
Must be this one.
Is that all right? Sorry. All right, go ahead, Ken, sorry.
And then there's a few pictures showing some of the condensation issues that we have throughout the year. We do have some significant deterioration on some of the ground level side windows, and you'll see that in the set of pictures with a small 2 on top. And then finally, the second level windows, our home built in 1870 does not have any means of fire escape except for a front staircase. And so we have a bit of concern for windows that won't open or can't open or won't stay open once they do open for exit of the home during a fire emergency. And then finally, on the third set of pictures, you'll see that we have a fair amount of issue with keeping these windows clean. I don't know about your home in Madison, but ours is a target for bird dropping. I don't know why that is, but it seems as though we get that almost on a daily basis. So obviously, having some windows that would be easily clean would be a great thing, and I think that's the thing that my wife wanted to stress tonight more than anything is, gee, how can I keep these windows a little cleaner? So anyway, I think that's everything that I've got. If you've got a particular question about any one of the pictures or any of the issues in those sets of pictures.
So I got a couple of questions
Sure.
for you. One is, have you had these windows since you had the home 14 years? Have you had them repaired since the time you've taken them?
Yes, the front windows have been repaired twice.
Okay.
I think they call that glazing.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been reglazed twice,
Okay.
and they're in need again.
Yeah.
The ground level front windows have never had a storm window
Right.
in the 14 years that we've been there, and I'm assuming for some amount of time before that.
And so you have put these, these outer coverings, because I got them on my home. I know exactly what these are. These aluminum, they got big plates of glass, in them, right? Which is what your wife's saying, that you can't really clean without taking
Yes,
those off. And they're
yes,
extremely
yes.
heavy. They're very,
Yes.
they take a lot of time to take off and put on. So your objective is to get rid of those with, replacing with these windows, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you do that, and I really don't know that I could tell with the description, but with your muttons, in your windows, are they going to be hidden inside the glass, or are they going to actually be exposed on the outside on your new windows? So, all the dividers is what I'm basically talking about. Do you know that?
I
Because
don't know that. Mike
Okay.
and this bid was put together by Glass Unlimited.
Yeah.
I'm certain Mike could explain that, but I honestly don't know that. He did say that this kind of window has been approved in the past, but that's as much as I may know.
Board, if you look at the quote,
That's what I'm trying
it's
to,
a simulated, the SDL is simulated divided light. So that's going to be the internal muntins.
so it's gonna be internal. Okay,
Internal buttons.
that's, I guess that's what I'm trying to get, because I know it's a question that somebody else will ask on this board, and I'm beating them to the
And I would like
punch.
to know that too.
So, because, and the reason why we ask that is because obviously if you look at your windows now, all the buttons are external, right? They, they're not on the internal of your panes.
is
And-
correct.
And that is something that we do, look at, normally we do anyway, look at pretty seriously because it keeps the historic character, or at least the look of the home. Although you may not be going necessarily real wood all the way back, you're doing aluminum clad, right? So it's wood on the inside, clad, aluminum
Yes.
clad on the outside.
Yes.
It still has the appearance, though, what we're looking for is still that historic appearance that, you would still see. And that's what, is the question for me, at least,
Do
as
you know
being.
if that's offered in this type of window?
I know that it's offered in aluminum clad window. Now, I think the question is, because I think what you're trying to get in this is actually a screen, at least I saw screen somewhere. There's like an internal, be able to switch your window from, window to screen. That, I don't know. I couldn't tell you that because I haven't looked at that far, and
Sure.
maybe another member from the board here can be assistance there, but that's the one thing I will say is just those looking at, having that historic look
Sure.
is an important element, right, for us, so. I'll let, anybody else from the board, you have questions?
I do,
Okay,
sir. Thank you for being here.
sure.
Of course, we're all about the preservation on the
Right.
board. That's my main concern primarily. And so you want to replace 13 windows
Yes,
at a cost given to you by Glass Unlimited.
yes.
And we sat out in front of your house the other day. I hope you didn't think we
Should
were
come in.
whatever we were. But we sat out there and looked at those windows, and we have those same windows in our house, the floor to ceiling
Okay.
windows. And what I wanted to know was, do you have a storm glass behind them on the inside of your house?
There is some type of plexiglass interior that supposedly was put there by the folks that were there before us for safety issues.
Okay.
They don't serve in stopping any condensation or
Okay.
moisture issues or airflow issues.
Well, the reason I asked, if we thought we could see it from where we were sitting on the street.
Sure.
And we have friends who, in another state, who had those same windows, and I asked her why she put those on the inside, and she said, because we have hand-blown glass windows.
Yes.
And she said, I would rather my guests see that window than the storm window. So that's why they put them on the inside. It gave them somewhat of a protection from the elements, if you will, as far as, just protection from winds and things like that, like a storm window would.
Right.
But those were my main concerns, were what you can see from the street. And you have a lot of blown glass windows there. And they were probably original to the house. There are some that maybe have been replaced, a pane here and there. But those are all 4x4/4s. And just a second, I was going to make one point, now I'm going to make another one. But at least those glasses are probably around 160 years old.
Yes.
So, had you given some thought to, if we approve that, what would you do with those windows? If you take them out, what are you going to do with those old windows and 160-year-old panes in them?
I'd sure look for suggestions. I mean, if it's about keeping them for some kind of use, I'd be all about that. I actually haven't thought about that,
Okay,
what to do with them.
well, I think about
A few
stuff like
years
that.
ago, we
I
had
never
a
throw anything
building
away.
that blew down with a strange windstorm. It took an old brick building down. We actually used those bricks to build another building. So, hey, it makes sense to me that
Okay,
if we can or someone can use those windows, that's a great thing.
okay, well, my point is, the windows, the panes of those windows are more important to me historically than for you to put a new window in there. I just think that's something that people notice. If they know anything about old houses, they'll comment on that. They can say, look, they still have the original windows in that house.
Absolutely.
And I know there's an add-on to the back of your house at some time in the past they've put there.
Yes.
So some of these windows may actually be going into that add-on, will they? Some of these 13?
No, these are all in the original part of the house.
Oh, on the brick.
Yes.
Okay. I could almost see saying, if you would leave the windows on the front, I would approve the side windows being replaced because they're not really visible from someone walking down the street. If you walk up next to them, you can see them.
Sure.
But that's just a thought, and I don't know if that's feasible to you at all.
You know, it was probably the one set of windows that caused my wife and I to have the most amount of discussion, and that is, do we really want to not have those windows? They are pretty significant, and we like those, but being that they've been replaced or repaired twice, we weren't sure whether or not the caulking and the glue and everything was going to work the third time. So I actually would love to keep them, but I just don't know what their longevity would be for another repair.
Well, they've lasted 160 years, almost. But there are other places in town where we have examined, and those windows were in bad shape as far as the wood was concerned, and they can be repaired. And I know the weights can be repaired. If the rope is exposed, you know that weight is still sitting down there at the bottom, just waiting for another rope to be attached to it.
Okay.
And that's not a real complicated thing to do to repair.
I see.
We've done it in old houses ourselves. But a lot of those old windows using certain products that are available now, it might be worth it when you consider what your outlay is for 13 windows versus repairing the ones that are in really bad shape. And if you take out those windows, I noticed on one of the pictures here, the unique locks on the top of them,
Oh, yes,
those won't go on your new windows, and that's a loss as well to me.
sure.
That's a very unusual locking system,
Yeah.
and it's just pretty to me.
Sure.
And it goes very well with that window from 1860. Those are my main concerns,
Sure.
though. And, no, that's it. Thank you.
I would have a question about if those front floor-to-ceiling windows could be repaired, is there a way that you can get those to be inside of a storm window? Is there an acceptable storm window for that?
Yeah.
Is there?
Oh, yeah. They're all over town.
Okay.
Yeah, the newer models of these things are almost invisible. They have sometimes the older ones are a little bit in your face. They're kind of thick and you can't ignore them, but the newer models are almost invisible, very thin, just around the very edge. And then, that would answer your question as to how often you have to have it glazed. Never. You have it glazed this time, put a storm window in front of it, forever.
That sounds like a doable option to me. I mean, I just assumed that there was not a storm window that was made for that
Oh,
application.
no, that's, would be trivial. That's,
14 years, I've never known it, so.
Mr. Pettit, I'm also interested in you keeping the East Street windows original. And especially, I have the exact same setup you do, and I'm just frightened to death to replace. I bought into vinyl windows. It just kills me. I have vinyl in my house. But I know those windows, if I got them replaced, would be around $3,000 a piece. And yours probably isn't that high, but HMI had a series of specialists come in 2 summers ago on reglazing and rebuilding windows. And so those names are out here. They're in Louisville and Evansville, stuff like that. But just repairing those front 5 windows will cost you a lot less than replacement cost. And looking at some of your photos, the folks who hired out in the past really didn't hire quality people. You can see it looked like I did it. And I would have been happy with that. But no, there's folks in town who can help you find the right people to save those windows. And they're absolutely worth saving.
I have another one. I see here on the proposal by Glass Unlimited, they say they're gonna take the shutters off. They don't say they're gonna put them back.
That's right. Yeah, I intend on them to put them back, that's for certain. So I did see that they had omitted that. We've talked about it, but they did omit that from the quote. But I
So the shutters, no matter what you decide to do, the shutters will go back where they are now.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. I just want to make,
They need repair, okay? They do need
Yeah.
some repair done, but yes, I intend on putting those shutters back, absolutely.
Well, now, are the current shutters actually attached to the windows? Because normally they would be on the older windows. The newer ones, I'm guessing, they won't be able to attach them to the new windows that would be going in, so that would be a big change.
Yes.
So that will be something that you actually will have to really look at then, because now you're actually having to attach them to your home and not actually to the window, which will be, that'll make it will look different, a little bit different with that being the case, so.
Okay.
Something to also take in mind when you're thinking about, do you replace or do you keep the windows you have and try to keep, the shutters on there and so that's just another factor
Sure.
in the decision. I think, and then I'll get to the audience here in a second, but, there's been discussion obviously with the front windows and you seem to be interested, or at least, have some piqued interest to possibly keeping your front windows and then maybe looking at replacing your side windows, or maybe try to keep all of them, I don't know. What are your thoughts around that? Because that really makes a big difference as we are looking at this application of,
I would be very interested in repairing the front and doing a storm window addition
okay,
to those fronts. I'd still like to be considered for side window replacement.
okay. So does the board understand what he is now asking for with this application? Everybody, Sandy?
so
are you
now
good?
the application has been altered?
Are you willing to amend your application to that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so he's amending it to keep,
Okay,
so
so
what he's
now
going
your
to do.
application, you're asking for replacement only of the side windows,
Yes.
not of the front windows?
That is correct.
And then adding the storm window on the front.
Yes.
And adding a storm window on the front?
Right.
After
Okay,
repair.
okay, just make sure we're all clear on that, all right.
Great.
That's right.
I'm glad you did. I think I'm square with that, sure.
Okay, and if, you get down that road and you think, gosh, this repair or these storm windows in front just are not, it doesn't work, then you can always come back in front of us again and state your case for that again. And you're more than welcome too, you can also ask Brooke, if you get to that point, knowing that there's some objections to, wanting to see those windows, taken out and new ones put in. We have, you can invite us to your home to take a look at them, there in person. We just would have to set that up through Brooke, where it's kind of two of us at a time, be able to see it. So then we're seeing it, in person and knowing exactly what you're up against too, rather than just photos too. Okay. All right, any questions, concerns, support from the audience? Come on. Come on up to the podium, Suzanne. Sorry.
My experience with Roger is I think he can rebuild those windows using that vintage glass.
Mike actually said that the other day.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And at least with my experience at Glass Unlimited, they will come build the storm windows for you. I know, I think that's who maybe you've been talking to.
Sure,
But just from my experience, those would be two people to talk to.
Yeah.
They may not be allowed to tell you who, but
No, we, there's suggestions, but obviously, Brooke has a list of contractors who do woodwork, with windows, other than, I think, Roger, that she can put you on to. Roger gets really busy and backed up. I mean,
yeah,
he's
it
obviously
takes a while
wanted
to
a
get
lot.
on his list, but he's worked way
And he
too
is good, it's obvious, but there are other options, and sometimes even Glass Unlimited knows how to do some of that kind of repair and stuff too themselves. They've been in the business for a long time as well, so they know, obviously, downtown Madison really well, so.
Ken, if you want to come and take a look at my house, I've got the original windows in my house, and while they're not quite as big as yours, probably the top floor is, but the bottom floor, they put in new windows in 1850, so the windows on the bottom are put in about 1850, the ones on top are 1830. But I've got storm windows in front of those, and we've had no issues at all with them, so.
Yeah, I'll take you up on that.
Okay. All right. Hearing no other question, any other questions or from the audience? Go ahead. Come on up, Link. If you would state your name. I forgot to have Suzanne do that. State your name and address.
Link Ludington, 601 Mulberry Street. I really didn't come here tonight prepared to speak to this, but I think I've met Pettit's previously with regard to another issue that had to do with this particular house, and this is of special interest to me because this the Genter house, which it actually built 1871. Robert Genter and his brother had a brickyard right around the corner from this house on the riverfront, and it was their own bricks that were used to build this house. And this, in fact, was the first. When my family bought this house in the 1970s, almost 50 years ago, this was my first residence of my own after we moved here in the 1970s. The only reason I chose to stand up here at this moment and even say anything is I just want to make sure I have a sense of what the motion is likely to be, because I get the sense that you're wanting to approve something so that the owners do not have to come back. It's not going to be tabled. They don't have to come back or get get additional approval. But I think that if the additional resources are offered to the Pettits, they may in fact find that they don't want to be satisfied with preserving only the facade windows, but for the amount of money that evidently you're prepared to spend to put in modern replacement windows, which are even the best modern replacement windows you're lucky to get 20 or 25 years out of them, no matter how good they are. These obviously, and I did the first restoration on this in the 1970s, and obviously there has been additional repair, restoration, and rehabilitation done on these window sash some number of times over the years. But reglazing ought to be good for 15 or 20 years. It depends on how it's done, and not necessarily who is doing it. But regardless of whether you decide to stick with exterior, or go to interior storm windows, I would just point out that there are resources available, and it's not limited to the few people here in town, although ideally it would be nice to have local craftsmen doing this work. I no longer do this. I'm retired. I don't do this anymore for private clients. But I can tell you that based on what you submitted, and I actually was back down there today to take another look, and I would very much urge you, at the very minimum, to preserve the facade windows the way they are. And if you feel it's that important to have tempered glass in the floor-length windows, you can remove the existing hand-blown glass if it's there and replace it with tempered glass. And there are just a lot of things that are feasible and perhaps even might save you a lot of money if you weigh the options and go through a decision-making process. And really, the only reason I felt like sticking my neck out tonight is that despite its small size, this house is one of the best preserved Italianate structures anywhere in Madison. It's the whole, at least the front, it's the whole thing. It's the sheet metal cornice work, the original window sash, the original louvered blinds, the original front door, original transom, original everything. And, in a place where so many structures have been altered many times in ways that actually detract from historic integrity and significance, this is one that it's the perfect, it's the whole package. So all I can say is that I'd like to have some indication, before you actually state what you're going to vote on, if you can kind of characterize the direction you're headed, and if I don't need to say any more, then I'll shut up. But,
Well, Link, he amended his application. That's what we just had gone through here is he has amended it to, he's going to keep the front facade the same. He's going to look at repairing it and looking at adding storm windows. So he does want to look at adding storm windows to the front of the front facade windows, but he still wants to replace the side windows, right? Correct.
Okay, so that's what the motion is likely.
That's what he wants us to consider, yeah.
Yeah, and if they decide to go ahead and rehab and repair of all of them, then they don't have to come back for any reason.
Right, yes,
Thank you very much.
Could I make a point?
yes.
Just to clarify what Link was just saying, there's a little note to us that was entered here, that this particular home was included in the Historic American Building Survey conducted in the 70s, and not all structures in Madison were included. Only the most significant, well-preserved, and notable examples of various architectural styles. This structure was included in the Madison Habs. The windows are original historic wood windows and have the original hand-blown glass in most panes. So I agree totally with what he was saying. It's just one of the most well-preserved and a great example of that style built at that time. So, just wanted to add that. Thank you.
No, it's great. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. So we're going to go to our findings of fact, and Carol Ann, you are up on findings of fact here.
She's gonna make me read it from Okay, windows, 82 to 86. Return and retain, thank you. I'm off to a good start, aren't I? Retain and preserve historic windows, including all significant, oh, hello. Thank you. One moment, please. Including all significant related elements such as frames, sashes, shutters, hardware, old glass, sills, trim, and moldings. Maintain existing historic windows where possible. Follow guidelines for wood and metal maintenance as relevant. Repair existing historic windows where possible, rather than replacing the entire window units. Use techniques such as wood epoxies, wood patches to repair and strengthen the deteriorated wood elements. Replace only those elements that cannot be repaired. Reproduction glass is desirable but not required.
Do you believe that his project, as it has been presented, remember he has amended it, as we talked about, do you believe that it fits the findings of fact?
Yes, if we word it in such a way that he's replacing 8 side windows with new aluminum clad windows of the same size and all, and he's repairing all the windows across the front and adding the storm windows to each of those 5 windows on the front.
Okay, all right.
Does that sound right?
Yep, sounds right. Mike?
Think about this. I really think based on what Link presented, I think it's a strong case to want you to preserve the windows, Ken, if at all possible. I think that should be your first route. And I would agree with Carol Ann's findings of fact, except for the side windows. I'd like you to have whoever you have look at the front windows to rehabilitate them, have them look at the side windows and get your estimate, because I agree with Link. I think you'll save quite a bit of money repairing and replacing, put storms on the sides. That's my opinion, but I agree with Carol Ann, except for that little proviso.
So, in all reality, you don't think that it fits the findings of fact then?
Well, I
In
think.
totality, in totality?
In totality,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Owen?
Okay, I guess I agree with what was just said, in that, just to maybe re-clarify it, it does not meet the finding of facts at all. Okay, because what we just read there, which I think is short, pretty clear, looking at these pictures, which is great, you gave us such detailed pictures, these windows are actually in great shape for being so old. The letter that you included in your packet from Glass Unlimited, I thought, was shockingly absurd. They said that these windows are not, how do they put it? It's not feasible to repair them. Well, what's wrong with them? They've been painted shut. They have some broken sash weight. That's it? That makes it not feasible? That's ridiculous. These are some of the best windows I've ever seen sitting on this board, historic windows. They're in great shape. So it would be a tragedy to get rid of any of these. It will not cost you a lot of money, especially you're willing to spend almost $30,000 on this as it is. I don't think you need to spend anywhere near that and keep them all, unless I'm really off base here. And a safety and health violation, you feel in danger in your house because the windows are painted shut. That means the vast majority of the houses in Madison are all living in death traps then. It's crazy. You get a razor blade and cut through the paint, you can open them. Yeah, okay, so this letter, Glass Unlimited, they're not experts in safety, but of course they want to get a $28,000 ticket, so they're going to say, yeah, they're not feasible to repair and they're dangerous. Man, that's pretty outrageous to my mind. Okay, so I think you're fantastically lucky to have such wonderful windows in that beautiful house, and I hope you can restore all of them, because it's just, that house is just one of the jewels of Madison. So my answer is no, it does, it does not satisfy the findings of satisfy the
Findings of fact.
the findings of fact. It's not consistent with the guidelines. Is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Sandy.
Tough acts to follow. We've got two different things going here, so it's hard to say I agree. It does not meet the findings of fact. The first one, retain and preserve, and that's what we're saying. I think what the issue we've got to get down to is, we've said that he's going to amend it to just be the side windows, but assuming that those side windows are about the same condition as the front windows, then I'd say it doesn't meet our criteria.
Okay.
Either way, amended or not amended.
Ken? Look at me.
No, I do not believe that it meets the findings of fact, that it doesn't get approval to the guidelines.
Ken, I will say this to Wyoming. I've obviously got, we both got older homes, and my windows were painted shut. They've had, we had them repainted, and we had, them opened up on some of them, and some of them we kept shut because we knew they just weren't going to open really well all the time. So we kind of picked our good windows that we opened during the nice days like these and let the air in. It's tough because I understand the concern with, if you're upstairs with my kids, those windows are shut, and they're sealed. They don't necessarily think break a window. They're taught not to break things is what we do, right? And so it is a tough thing. But knowing that the windows are old and that if there is a chance to possibly repair them, I think you probably have a chance with the windows from what you've given here to repair them and keep them, and maybe for even another 10 years, if you could get just another 10, 15 years out of these. And again, it's a decision that, you and your wife are, having to make, that, you want something that is functional, right? But at the same time, you want, a home that continues to keep the character of why you bought it, and, hopefully, by repairing, these windows and really getting someone that truly understands how to repair a wood window. And that may be some of the issues from the past too, but, so that you can get them functional as well as having the character of your current windows, I think will be that would be a big change for you. And I think you'll appreciate having kept them. So. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's what they were saying, is that I think getting storm windows put on your windows, on all of them, to preserve. Because if I was putting my money into repairing these wood windows, I would protect them by having something on the outside, and that's what Mike was saying. He's put storm windows. I've got storm windows on the outside of mine. Have a pane a lot of times, but at the same time, those wood windows are staying in really good shape for the most part. I mean, there's very little, element, damage to them, from the outside. So that's why people will choose to go ahead and protect them from the outside, so that you're keeping those wood windows. And then, when it gets nice out, you can go out and take, some of those off, and then, be able to, open your windows and get some air. It's just what we've chosen to do. I'm not saying that's what you would choose to do. So, in doing it and saying this, I would agree that it doesn't meet the findings of fact the way it is presented. I love the case that you brought. And most time we get, these asks, and we don't get pictures, and we don't get a lot of real good information to go through it. So it's apparent you've put a lot of work into this. So I do not want you to think that this board is critical of what you're trying to do. In fact, I think we're all tickled pink of, all the work that you have done. But we also love your home. And I think you love your home more than we love your home. And so that's what I think we would like to see you do, is probably go more the storm window approach. But your application is right now, as we have it, to keep your front and replace the sides. Okay. All right. So with that, I'll accept the motion on this.
I move, based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review deny a certificate of appropriateness to Ken and Linda Pettit for the proposed repair of the front facade windows and replacement of the side windows with aluminum-clad wood located at 119 East Street.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. So just before the board votes on this, just know an approve means that you are denying the COA. If you deny, that means you are approving the COA. Does everybody understand what your vote will mean? Okay. All right, Brooke,
Carol Lamb Rogers.
do you have a question for you?
Will, what you're saying is, as it's presented, leave the front, add the storm windows, replace the sides,
Right.
and you're asking it to be denied.
Yes. And so if you approve, that means you are approving the denial of it. If-
Oh, then I deny it.
Ken McWilliams.
Approve.
Sandy Palmer.
Approve.
Owen McCall.
Approve.
Mike Pittman.
Deny.
And Josh Wilbur.
Approve. So what that means is you will not, right? Because there was 4, so you will not get a COA on this application. What I encourage you to do is work with Brooke and looking at some people for repair. You can always bring this, an application back to us if you still want to replace and you have further information, or you want us to come see it to do that. You have that right, Ken, for sure. But if you want to maybe look at the storm, window, part of it, I'm not sure if that has to come in front of us or not. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't, because he would just be protecting what he has, right?
Storm window is staff review.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that would be just staff review if you want to just do the storm windows on all of them as you look at it and stuff. So just want to make sure you know that part, okay? So, but I do appreciate everything you've done. If you want these back, you can take them. That way you have them but I do appreciate.
Mr. Pettit, may I keep one of these for
Yeah.
your file for our
Thank you, Mr.
records?
Pettit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, our third application is 502 East Second Street, please. You state your name and address?
Cheryl Rossi Huey. The apartment we're working on is 502 East Second.
All right, is that your primary residence or?
My primary residence is in Versailles, Indiana,
Okay,
but we also live on 511 Mulberry.
okay, all right, thank you. Brooke?
This structure is a circa 1890. This says shotgun. It obviously is not a shotgun. This is a federal style home. It is a contributing structure zoned residential medium density, or excuse me, actually this is a HDR. I apologize. So this is Historic District Residential. The COA request is to replace the front door and deteriorated window frames on the front first floor elevation. And I'll go through the photos for you. This was a photo of what the home looked like previously, prior to the replacement of the front two first floor windows and the door. And these are updated pictures of the replacement door and windows. And I'll scroll through those as well. You can see more up close images here. And this is to show the picture on the right that the windows in this structure are primarily replacement windows. That door on the side is replacement as well. This was a historic photograph that the applicant has provided for us. I believe that I would say this one would be probably circa 1890 to 1900, but just an estimate. I don't know if you have the exact date on it, but it's somewhere around there.
We were
I would
told
say.
about 1830.
Oh, okay.
This is actually hanging up in the museum. That's how we found it.
Okay.
Up close picture of some of the deterioration that is at that front door opening. Examples of nearby structures with glass block. Examples of nearby structures with vinyl windows. And that is all I have.
Do you want to add anything?
The reason we actually didn't come before the board, before doing the repairs, is our front door was pushed in. It's an empty apartment on the first floor, and all the windows on the first floor and the door were all plexiglass. So there was no glass on the front. When we purchased the building, everything was plexiglass. The wood frames were all rotted, and they have L brackets on each corner holding the windows together. And the front door, I don't know if you could see the original picture of the front door, that's all plexiglass. And we've had, unfortunately, the wonderful people from the 7-Eleven or whatever it is walking by trying to get in. So, and this used to be a storefront, so that's why we went with the glass block by looking at the other storefronts on Second Street. So within 2 to 3 blocks of the house, that's why we went with the glass block for security reasons. Because if we have like a single female living there and we got people high on meth walking around, we don't want someone breaking in and getting to someone. That's why we went with the glass block.
How many apartments are in this?
It's a 3-family.
Okay.
And we're pulling it all apart because it was terrible inside. The reasoning for moving the door over is when you open the door, it wouldn't open all the way because there's a wall there.
Okay.
So we looked up the Indiana code, and it said it had to open 90 degrees and be a minimum of 32 inches. So if we left the light on the left side of the door swinging in doesn't open all the way.
Okay.
So we were trying to be code at the same time. We didn't know if even though it's historic, if we didn't have to meet code.
Okay. Can you go
So,
back-
and it's not finished.
Can you go back to the, okay. So you went with a smaller door?
Nope.
No.
We actually made the door a little bit bigger
So you
by like
you
an
cut
inch
out
or two.
a bigger opening?
Actually, it fell out.
Oh.
When we took the door out, if you saw the bottom, the whole thing was rotted like that. When the sidewalk got poured, we started getting water into the apartment because there was no door ledge.
Okay.
So we put in a door frame that has a ledge, I guess. I don't know what it's called. Do you know the bottom piece where it's metal?
Yeah, I see what you got.
Yeah, there was nothing there.
Okay.
So, and we're gonna re-pour the step a little to make it even.
Okay.
And where the wood is, we're gonna replace that wood. And above the door, which this picture doesn't show, it's all glass block.
Okay. So you
That
want
was
glass
just-
block above too?
Yeah, it was just press board, painted press board on that when we bought the building.
So more than likely, the door that was there was not probably historic to the
It
home.
was 2 inches too short. It was just a cheap door that was put there.
Okay.
I mean, the whole lock part, it had a big metal thing where it's been pushed in a few times.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, unfortunately, we've had people pushing stuff in, pushing the windows in. So we're trying to make it secure, and we want to try to bring it back to how it looked with the sign painted and,
Okay. So doing that, so you did the vinyl windows.
we did
Already
order
as
brand
well.
new vinyl windows. I did look, since we were told that it might have had the 6/6, but the pictures, like, we were replacing what was there,
Right.
which was full glass.
Right.
But we did find out, we can have the grids made in wood to put on the outside. And we have no problem doing that inside, outside, whatever you guys require. We just, like I said, want it to be safe also.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Were the windows that were taken out on the front, were those wood?
They were wood, but they were, like I said, all rotted and just held together with brackets. There was no repairing them. Our house on Mulberry, I took all the windows out, reglazed them, and they're all sitting in Mulberry. There was nothing left to reglaze, nothing, there was no window. There was no, like, solid frame. It was like you poked at it and it just fell apart.
Can you go back to the picture from the 1830s for me? I mean, if, you know, hearing what you're saying, it makes sense a little bit to me, because those are the original historic windows.
Right.
The windows that obviously you took out had to been replaced at some point. They replaced those, with 1/1.
Yeah,
it
and we
looks like,
couldn't
too.
tell, because it
So-
looks like on those pictures that they might have had bars
They look like buttons to me. I don't think they're oh, you mean at the bottom, maybe?
on the bottom, not the tops.
Possibly.
So we couldn't
I'd
tell.
be surprised, but.
Yeah, and we didn't find this picture till afterwards when we started looking into it. But if you guys are fine with us doing wood grills, we have no problem doing anything like that to make it look like that.
Are you saying that the glass block is across the top, the transom is 1 row, 2 rows?
It's 2 rows,
2 rows?
and it looks pretty much like M3's building, or if you go to Shipley's. Right there, see how Shipley's is?
Yeah.
It's got the row and then the 2 rows on top. But we have the side going all the way up, then the rows. Jim, do you have a picture of it? Okay, my husband's gonna look and see if he's got a current picture. And that's kind of how we got the idea of the glass block, is these were all on our street, so we thought that would be okay.
When you replaced the front windows, why did you choose to leave the air conditioning unit in there?
That's pretty much the only, we replaced it with a new unit,
Okay,
but there's no other place to put it. The side window on the side of the house is the kitchen,
okay.
so you can't put it there.
Is it actually, is that a window that you raised up and put the air conditioning in?
We did, so it wouldn't be pushed in, because we've had people try to push the air conditioner in.
Oh,
So we have fixed it so someone couldn't break in that way.
gotcha. Thank you.
And like I said, that's half of our problem, is safety there. Because it's not the most spectacular place, and there's the big apartment building across from us.
Okay.
What material are you gonna use for the frames that you wanna replace the frames with?
We'd actually like to talk to someone, if you guys had a chance to talk to us, to find out what a good option would be.
I mean, Brooke, I think, you know, you'd be the best probably to help with contractors on doing that. I assume wood is what you're wanting to possibly go back with, or?
We were either thinking wood or, like a not a vinyl, what is it called, Jim?
Aluminum clad, maybe? I don't know that that would be right.
No, it's, like a PVC that doesn't rot. Because like I said, we have water that pools from the sidewalk. They took out one of our downspouts when they poured the sidewalk,
Okay. Ooh.
so that kind of caused us some issues.
Yeah, you can come on up with, if you got the photo, yeah.
And like I said, we didn't finish trimming it or anything, so this is by far not done.
We just went out.
And if it matters, our neighbors love it.
That's good.
And we are trimming around the glass block. We're not leaving like the vinyl looking there. We just stopped when we got a notice, so
The glass block goes up on both sides or just one side?
just the one
west
side. If we put it on both sides, we'd have to shrink the door too small.
Push the door there on the center.
Yeah, no, they just had, T-111 painted green where the window should have been.
Yeah.
I was hoping when they took it down that they'd be window back there, but,
Nothing, yeah.
so we
Where
had
is
some
the
artists that I was hoping to
obstruction?
paint it.
Where's the obstruction that's preventing the door from opening to 90 degrees?
It was
It's
that
inside the
there.
wall, the inside wall.
With the smaller door and the way, the little side, I guess they wanted to make it side lights, but it was just 2x4s with support T-111 screwed to it to make it look like it. But the stuff we took out,
So
when
that
the door,
wasn't
when
there
a smaller door, because there was a fake side lights on both sides with a smaller door, and it would open straight into the wall.
It looks like that wall's angled a little bit, or it could be the picture, yeah, okay.
Well, nothing's in there straight.
Oh, it's from the inside looking out.
If it helps, the insides are coming nice. We just put in granite countertops.
Nice.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think for me, you know, when you're looking at the windows, you know, replacing the window frames, you know, I think wood would be more, you know, characteristic of the property as you're talking about wanting to get it as close to what it used to be in the 1830s picture, you know, with the sign above, right? You know, so trying to give it that look would be best. You know, I don't know about, you know, what the board feels about the muttons and putting the wood, you know, muttons to make sure that they're, you know, it's 6/6. Yeah, I know it looks like you replaced, you know, it with what was there before, which was 1/1, right? So, but, you know, I'll let the board speak to that, but that's my preference on certainly the window frames.
Now, were the shutters there when you bought the building, or were they already gone?
The shutters are there, but they're plastic and they're horrible. We were planning on taking them off because the original picture that we found doesn't have them. We think they just look cheesy.
Other questions from the board?
I think one of the problems I have is that it's not architecturally, the door in particular, is not architecturally suitable for that style of building. And I think they call it here, it's more craftsman than it is the federal. And that's a
Now, is
historic
it
federal
the
building.
door or is it the side, the top light? Because I
It's the
can
top.
replace that.
I don't know if you can do that. Can you do that?
Yep, they unscrew.
Ah.
We looked into it when, because I have no idea what federal is, what. We just thought it was a nicer looking door than the
Oh, it
little
is.
half moons that you can see the different shades of the white and when it fades. We just thought this looked nicer.
Okay.
So Caroline, you're saying you would like to see a more appropriate door?
Yes, yes, because I agree, it does look craftsman and it's, that's just not the style. It looks like a replacement door, and I
brought a
understand
book
you
so
wanted
could
something
point it
stronger.
out. I brought a book so you could point it out.
Oh, good.
You can bring it up if you want.
Okay. 'Cause I have no idea. we can get and replace that, if that's more like it.
It's just got 3/3.
Because we have no problem doing that if it
I see.
works.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to see that? Do you want to see it on? Sure.
Because that's the door, and we can replace it with that if that's more appropriate.
Brooke, could you put up that historic photo again? I think it, looking at the size of those windows and their separation, clearly you couldn't really have shutters on that building because they'd overlap. And so what they put on there at some later date was those really thin looking ones. It looks so fake. I think it will look better, more legit
Yeah.
with no shutters. Yeah, so I like that decision. I mean, not that we have to approve of that, but
But it was originally a storefront.
Yeah.
So they were just two big windows, you think?
well, I mean,
Like a 3x5 window maybe, or something like that?
there would have been no way to have shutters because you have the gaps between the windows are so much narrower
Oh, yeah.
than the windows that they would interfere with each other. Yeah.
And if I may note, shutters is something that does require approval to remove. So if the applicants would like to include that in the application, then I would say that that would be something the board may want to consider including in a motion,
The removal of the shutters? Okay.
right?
Yeah, some of them are kind of removing
I assume you're
themselves.
going to paint the building, right?
Yeah, we gotta get it, we wanna get a PACE grant for it. That's a whole nother, we just found
Okay.
out we could do that.
Okay.
But we would actually like to take it down to the brick if we could, because that's what it originally was, but we have to visit that and see how that's done.
Okay.
Now, have you changed all the windows that need to be changed, or the rest
No,
of them?
we haven't touched the second and third floor yet.
What are your intentions up there?
We're gonna do whatever you guys tell us to do.
We had one that was completely destroyed, the one that's open in the top picture. And, we went to one of the resource
Yeah.
and, found some of the old frames.
Good.
I think we bought all the old frames that they had.
We did.
And took it to my dad and, he rebuilt one of the windows for up there, so.
Okay.
Hopefully
Okay.
that's gonna work out for us. And then, it sounds like he prefers storms, so we'll probably close over.
Can you go back to the current?
I mean, can you do replacement windows on the second and third floors, or how does that work? Can we do replacement
Well, I
windows
mean,
on the second and third?
it's really what you're asking for, right? I mean, we have to consider whatever you ask for, but I would, if your windows on your second and third floor are functional, and they're working, and they're not as deteriorated as obviously what your first level windows were, then, I mean, it almost makes sense to keep the windows there that you have. The one thing you have to consider, because this is this is rental property, this is not just a residence,
Yes.
is, you will have to consider the idea of being able to, they have to be able to open the window, there are things that code-wise, I think you have to look at as well. We can certainly give our opinion on what we would like to, see or like to have, see done, but, you have to look at what that is. But, I think if they're wood windows, I would try to keep the
Yeah,
wood windows.
like I said, we've repointed all the ones in Mulberry.
Yeah.
So we
Right.
know how to do that.
Yeah.
Are those wood windows?
Those are all wood windows on the second and third floor.
Good.
I'm pretty sure that those are mostly original.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
All of these windows are replacement windows.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking, they're all,
Yeah.
none of
Oh,
those
they
are
are?
historic windows.
Correct,
that I'm
none of
looking at
these
now.
are.
They're not historic to
Correct.
the place,
Not-
no way. There couldn't be, because
Oh.
they're not even the same.
And they're not even, you're saying they're. But they are wood then?
They are wood.
They are wood, but they're probably early 20th century.
Okay.
Bruce, I know nothing. I know nothing.
So, so your application actually is to replace all the windows with vinyl, is that right? Am I correct or not? That's, you, that
We're
wasn't.
actually,
no.
we're just applying
It's
for the
just,
first floor
just
right now.
the floor first, okay, gotcha, just first floor, okay. So that's what we're talking. And then you thought about adding the shutters for the whole building tonight, though?
If the applicants would like to remove the shutters, then
Are
I
you
would
wanting to
suggest-
remove the shutters?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to amend your application to have the removal of the shutters put on, okay. Okay, so looking at the first level, first two windows, that's what you want to look at, the window frames and get approval to replace the window frames with,
It is vinyl.
okay, it's vinyl now, yeah, so
Yes.
that's replacing the windows, but now, is there anything else around those that you want done?
We're
you're-
just gonna fix the trim. We want to put
Okay.
up wood trim to cover
Okay,
the vinyl. And then, like I said, if you want us to add the grids, we can do that, whatever.
It's existing vinyl, they don't really need approval to replace vinyl with vinyl, do they?
So
That's-
the
that's-
windows on the first floor, if you want to call them windows that were in place were wood.
we're wood.
What has been installed is vinyl, so it is a change of material.
It is a change in material.
They just have already put the vinyl in.
That's confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're wanting approval for tonight is the door, right?
And the door, yep.
The door.
The block.
The block, yep. So the door, the block around the transom. And then the first story windows, being changed to vinyl,
Yes.
Just on the front.
just on the front, just the first two.
Actually, no, the other side window has been changed. I think you guys didn't notice it. We have the other window sitting there, so people wouldn't look in, because it was frosted.
Which side window?
The east side, all three windows have been replaced.
Okay.
If you show the side of the building. Thanks, Brooke. The side next to the door,
Okay.
that is
That one has
replaced
been
window
replaced with
also.
vinyl as well. Okay.
Wait, that's the west side.
Yeah, that's the west.
That's the west side, not the east side.
I have no idea.
She threw out one of them. She had a
East side.
50-50.
It's East Street.
Yeah, oh,
East
there,
Street side.
East
I
Street
don't
side.
have a compass. I have no idea
Yeah.
east or west.
Okay. So again, so just to make sure what we know we're looking at
The
is
three
to
bottom
replace
windows.
the first floor, three vinyl windows.
Yes,
We're looking at replacement of the door.
yes.
I know there was conversation on the door. Are you wanting to keep what you have, or are you going to change what you have?
I like what I have, but if we need to
Okay.
keep it to be approved, I can totally change the transom.
Well, you gotta make we can't make that for you,
I
but
will change the transom.
you're gonna change the transom to,
The 3/3,
okay,
the picture.
3/3.
If I may clarify,
Yeah. Yeah,
I think you're talking about the glass.
Yeah, she's talking about the
insert in
glass
door,
insert.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The transom
I
is
just
the
wanna
is the
clarify.
block. Yeah, it's okay. I was gonna get there. I knew what you were talking about, but it's okay. I'm letting you try to take us through.
The insert in the door.
That's right, the insert
Yes,
in the door.
thank you.
And then the removal of the shutters, right?
Yes.
Okay. So does the board now have a good picture of what they're asking
I
for?
have a picture.
Maybe
I
it's getting late.
appreciate that someone understands.
Okay, all right.
Picasso painted it.
All right. Any other questions from the board before I go to the audience? All right, questions, concerns, support, audience, from the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll go to findings of fact. And Mike, you want to take us through findings of
I
fact?
hope I know what I'm talking about.
I do too.
First of all, I want to thank you for trying to take it on this building. It needs a lot of love and attention, so.
We love this building. We just need to figure out how to do it.
Okay, 9.1, retain and preserve original doors and entrances. Well, I think you're trying to do that, but the doors were gone and the entrance has been changed, so we'll have to deal with that. But the entrance is still the same entrance, correct?
Yes.
The original house, so we still got the same entrance. Maintain and preserve original doors and entrances. Retain historic entrance features, including decorative and functional aspects. You're adding the glass blocks. I don't think the original picture had glass blocks, did it?
We couldn't tell.
Couldn't really tell, but
That's why we just used
there's
the
several of them
neighboring
around
stores.
town, so we'll assume it may have. Functional aspects such as original jams, cells, headers, and openings, which are, I think, have long been deteriorated and gone, so we can't tell if they're there or were there. Retain original primary doors, which you are, retained on the main facade, but it's not, it's original opening, not the original door. It's not appropriate to infill, cover, historic, which you're not, so, I mean, you're trying to maintain that opening. If historic doors are missing or deteriorated, damaged beyond repair, install replacement door that matches original. You've talked about going to the different, what is that, top light, is that what we call that?
The insert.
The insert, the light insert at the top. Select replacement doors carefully, which you have, with Carol Ann's help, thank you, Carol Ann. Select replacement doors carefully to match original door materials, which it no longer exists. It was wood at one point, so. And I assume that door is metal?
It is.
It's metal.
Is it fireproof rated or? I don't think. It's like a $850 door.
Is it
That's all I know.
fiberglass? It might be fiberglass. Yeah, I think it's probably fiberglass. New doors should be, use photographs to identify details about the original doors if possible, which you tried, but can't really see the door. We got another page?
Yeah.
Windows.
Yeah.
Repair existing windows. Well, we've scratched that one. Rather than replacing entire window units, use techniques such as wood epoxies, and we'll skip that one. Replace only those elements that cannot be repaired, which you basically you couldn't repair what wasn't there. Reproduction glass is desirable. Replace in kind using replacement windows. You're going to frame those vinyl windows in wood, which I think will add to the attractiveness of the building. Wood windows or alternative materials such as composite, aluminum clad, baked enamel. Finish may be approvable. Some modern windows do not accurately resemble historic windows, and I think the historic windows are long gone, so fortunately we don't have those to go by. We do have the picture. And we're not talking about sash windows, I don't think, in this application, so we can go on to the next one. Is that it?
That's all I have. I don't have the guideline slide for shutters up.
Well, I think as far as removing shutters, those are not original shutters, they're plastic, and from the standpoint of, and Owen's astute measurement abilities from a picture lets us know they didn't work anyway, so those can go, so.
Owen?
Well, I mean, can we hear whether you feel that?
I believe
meets the
I
guidelines or
believe
not?
they're meeting the guidelines as best they can with this building, is in the deteriorated shape it was in.
Okay, that, I have to say, I disagree with. Vinyl's not a permissible material that it was put in there. The glass block and the door are not, don't reflect the federal style, so I don't think that is consistent with the guidelines. And the wood windows that were there, we don't know if those, we don't have any evidence that they were deteriorated to 80%, so we can't, we don't have that evidence. So I would say that, in my opinion, that this proposal does not meet the guidelines, except for the shutters, removing the shutters.
Okay. Sandy?
I agree with what Owen just said, that I don't think they meet the guidelines except for removing the shutters.
Ken?
I agree with Mike.
Carol Ann?
I agree with Mike.
You know, I think this is one of those tough projects because I think this place has been changed over the years. Unlike the last application that we saw where the Italianate, it's been preserved year after year after year since it's been built. And this thing has changed. It was a store. It's become residence. It's probably now become apartments. Obviously, you guys bought it for an investment, your property for apartments. And this is the sad story that we have with some of our homes that we do have in downtown Madison. Not that you're doing anything wrong, per se. It's just that you got what you got, and now you're trying to improve upon it from what it was, and it becomes more difficult. I don't think the windows, my differing opinion from what Owen and Sandy are saying, the windows to me are not historic, and so, but even though vinyl is not normally approved, it's one of those where if vinyl happened to be put in there, though, 15 years ago, and you were putting vinyl in now, it would get approved, and that's some of the weird parts of what our guidelines have sometimes. And I think you're at least putting windows in that are resembling what you had there before. This is one of those where we didn't have proof, and I wish you would have shown us proof of the deteriorated windows. We're having to take your word for it with this. That they were extremely deteriorated prior to. You didn't do all the windows, which I'm very, I applaud you for not going in and putting vinyl all the way through and doing that, knowing, so to me, it gives me some solace that, you're not really, trying to blindside us, with this. I do wish you would have come to us before you did it, I'll tell you that. But you are coming to us, and I appreciate it at this point in time. So I agree with Mike on this. So with that, accept a motion on this.
I'll make a motion that the Cheryl Huey.
Huey, yeah.
Huey, at, application at 502 East Second be approved for, framing the existing windows, 2 windows on the front with wood, putting a 3/3 insert in the door to make it look more federal, removal of those lovely plastic shutters, you can probably recycle those. And important to use wood trim where at all possible on what you're improving on.
Absolutely.
And, based on my findings of fact.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Brooke?
Carol Ann Rogers,
Approve?
Sandy Palmer,
Deny.
Owen McCall,
Do not approve.
Ken McWilliams,
Approve.
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
and Josh Wilbur.
Approve. So with that, you will get a certificate of appropriateness in the mail. You can begin, you already begun most of your work, but you can finish your work, as long as you obviously have the right permits to do so.
Okay,
All right?
thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
This is one of
Appreciate it.
those situations, it seems to me, I don't know about the PACE guidelines, but it seems like, because you are taking on a tremendous job.
Right.
And this would be the time when PACE funds could maybe help
Right.
make,
Yeah.
the best decisions for a
Yeah.
tough
The building
situation.
has the wood windows in it.
Yeah.
They're just covered with that stupid metal, really crappy storms.
Yeah.
And some of the panes are missing from the storms, so.
And it could be better, and that's where the PACE grant does come in, because it help you with those windows and help, with the paint as well. You put all that project together, so,
And they'll still have to be removed because most of the,
Sure.
most of the sills are rotted out because of what
Yeah.
they did.
sure. And-
Yeah, the tuck pointing will probably help that too, keeping the water out.
Yes,
so.
a
But
friend
thank
of
you all
ours
for
is a
taking
tuck
that
pointer
on.
in time.
Thank you.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, it is a big project, and we appreciate it. I mean, you are trying to do the things that you can do to try to improve, an area of Madison. We appreciate the investment in. So.
Now, I have a question. If we have questions about it, can we call you guys?
You gotta go to Brooke. You unfortunately
We owe
can't.
you an effort after this.
We all point to Brooke.
For all the questions we're gonna have to take you out to dinner.
Well, I'd like to interject. The other person you can go to is Link.
Yeah.
Cornerstone Society
Say Link
gives,
Staff- Staff
Link
Street
Lettington
Foremost.
sitting right there.
Yep.
Cornerstone Society gives free advice. We have, I say we 'cause I'm on the board, but
Okay.
Cornerstone Society has professional people that we will even pay for to give you advice
Okay.
on how best to handle this project.
That'd be awesome. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, our next application is at 929 West Second Street. Hi. State your name and address for us.
Regina Earlyline, 929 West Second Street.
All right, thank you. Brooke?
This structure is a circa 1840 federal. It is a contributing structure zoned historic district residential. The COA request is to replace the old deck with a new two-level deck. This was the old deck. This is the new deck as it is currently in process. And these are the renderings of what the completed new deck will look like. And that is all I have.
Would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, this is my first historic home. We just bought this house back in December of '21, and the deck that was on there was deteriorating and rotting and had a lovely resident groundhog that would pop its head up through the holes in the deck and get our dogs all excited. And when we decided to replace the deck, I had no idea that I found a contractor, I told him the projected plans, I said, is that allowed? Can I do this? And he said, yes, you can, and I'll apply for the permits. And so he actually showed up ahead of schedule, which is a first for me with a contractor. And he had totally taken off the old deck and framed up the new in less than a week. So when the stop work project sign was placed, I was just completely taken off guard. I had no idea that I needed to apply for a certificate of appropriateness, and I do want to commend Brooke. She's been wonderful walking me through the whole process. I based this dream oasis on houses on First Street that I walk past going down to the Riverwalk that have similar upper decks and lower patios.
Yeah.
Not realizing that there were codes that it needed to be enclosed by a fence. I do believe it's an improvement to the property. I know it's going to look much better than the old decks, and I also have a letter from my adjoining neighbor stating that she has no issues with me redoing the deck in this manner, and she doesn't feel like it will, detract from her property.
I'm assuming you invited her over for several cookouts and stuff then. So-
Well, she is a wonderful neighbor, just like many people in Madison. She mows my yard for me because I don't live here. I live in Cambridge City, and we bought this
okay.
property to have a place for our grown children and ourselves to come and just relax and reconnect. We love the area. We've been
Well, we
coming to
appreciate that.
Clifty
Yeah.
Falls forever, and
Nice.
so I guess ignorance is my only excuse for not knowing to come here first. I just had no idea.
No, do you mind telling us who the contractor is?
It is Salvador Rios.
Rios Rooster.
I had seen his signs all throughout Madison in different yards, and I
Okay.
just
Okay,
called him, and
just helps us understand. So the height of the deck, from this, it looks like you had some students at Ball State maybe put this together for you, I assume?
my friend's son is in his last
There
year
you
of
go.
architecture.
Architecture, yeah, there you got a great architecture school. So the deck does not go above your first level of your home, right, in the front? I assume it's not. I mean, it's pretty high. It's certainly above the
No.
back, but it doesn't look like it's above your first
No,
level.
it's
So
not.
you couldn't see it from the front. Okay.
No, you cannot see it from the front.
Okay.
I really was trying to figure out a way to get a view of that river back there, to be honest with you. I thought I could
I think
increase
you're gonna have to
my
make 3 more decks.
recreational space, and, I could see the river, and
Yeah, you can't
I
get there
just-
from here.
That's gonna be one of those towers you're gonna have to build, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Are you going to paint it?
I was going to do it just to blend in with, whatever you would recommend that I do. It
Well,
was
like the
going
wood-
to be composite, so it would be just neutral colors to kind of go with the facade of the house.
Yeah, because your house is one color, and then you have that wonderful fence that goes around your side and her side, I guess, of the backyards, and then the raw wood sticking up above it. I just wondered if you were gonna try to make it the same color as the lower one, and how do you get to it?
I don't know if you can see, there's outside the back door, there is a platform that one set of steps goes down to the lower patio and one goes up to the upper.
You see the door?
Oh,
I didn't realize how high the other deck was until they tore it off, and I had to hoist my dog 3 feet.
let's see.
Other questions?
Friday, I think these were submitted, or,
Yes, I just
So-
got them
yeah.
Friday.
So these are not gonna be in your packets, but
I
I
do
have
have-
them in print if you wanna
I do
look
have
at
the
them
printed,
closely.
some printed copies if they want to see those.
Does anybody want the printed copies? I mean, you can see them. Yeah, okay. Other questions from the board?
Is the neighbor's, is it a duplex? So the
Right.
neighbor you're talking about is in the other, the
Yes.
east duplex?
Right, right. And the neighbor to my west also said verbally that he has no problem with me putting it there. He is directly across Pearl Street. I think his name's Dave.
Johnson.
I'm sorry, I don't know my neighbors very well. I'm only here on the weekends.
Dave Johnson, everybody knows Dave.
Okay.
Other questions? Questions, concerns, anything from the audience? All right, hearing none. Let's see, Sandy, I believe you are up.
All right, so these are the guidelines on new construction for decks. Locate decks only on the rear ground level of historic buildings or other ground level where deck is not visible from public view. And it should be recessed and set at each corner. I don't think this one meets that guideline. Design decks to eliminate physical or visual damage to significant historic or architectural features. I do think it probably, the way it's connected to the house, there's an addition on the back of the historic duplex.
Right,
And so I think there's compliance there, conformance. Deck should be attached to the historic building so that it may be removed without significant damage. I think you're in conformance since it's not totally attached to the.
Right,
the historic side of the house. Provide proper flashing, and assume that you're in conformance with that. Is that it?
So, all in all, what's your thoughts, Sandy?
I agree.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I guess, the locating the rear on the ground level is where I have the issue. And again, right now, what you can see when you go by there is not what your rendering is looking like. It will surely look better when it has
Yes.
railing around it. But it's very visible from the street, not the main street, but, Second Street, but from,
I will say
Pearl,
that
Pearl.
I found most of the traffic on Pearl Street is people that have gone the wrong way down Second Street and just dash off on that street. I don't think there's a lot of traffic there that really be a big, I don't think people driving down Second Street, they're not gonna see it. I don't feel like there's a lot of traffic on that street that would detract from the historic nature of the neighborhood.
So, all in all, you don't think this
All in
meets the
all.
findings of fact?
Well, I mean, I think I agree with Sandy that it violates 27.1 but meets 2.2 and .4. So I think I agree with Sandy.
Okay, all right. Mike?
I think overall, I think it's okay with the guidelines.
Okay. Carol Ann?
I'm not sure I agree with it because I think the deck is too high. That and I love the idea of it, that you can go up there and also below it, you would have shade on your lower deck. But then you could have done the same thing with umbrellas. It just seems like it looks like kind of out of place to me. Doesn't look like it really belongs to that backyard. So I disagree.
I do
Kent?
have a picture of one of the places in the very next block on First Street that's very similar with that.
Sure, you can bring it, yeah.
It has a roof over it, but it's patio underneath, and that's where I kind of got the idea of walking down along those houses. I think they're Airbnbs and rentals. There are several that have big decks up top and cement concrete patios underneath.
I think I remember seeing that.
But that's a residence floor,
I think that's a rental, actually.
That's a residential floor going out onto the elevated deck.
Yeah, what he's saying is the residential
Yeah,
floor
there's
going to
basement
it, yeah.
under it, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
He was saying that it's a
What do you think?
residential floor that
So it's more of a balcony instead of a deck.
It looks like a deck still. Yeah. So Ken?
So locate decks only on rear ground level, so it does not meet the guidelines.
It'd be more likely to meet the guidelines if I put like, a different type of, more like a fencing on the upper level, so it wasn't as visible from the street on the upper level. Like on the Pearl Street side, if I put board fencing that would obstruct the view of
It's the
road.
height. It's not, I don't think doing that's gonna change the fact, it's a deck, it's a, obviously, it's a porch, for, going up on, and it's kinda tough for me. I don't know that it's the worst thing in the world. I think it's not outdoing the front of your house. It's almost, almost as tall. It looks, and of course, this is from pictures. It looks kind of almost as tall though as almost the front of your house. So it's getting up there close to the height. So having new construction like that, that's where it kind of gets in. So I think overall, I think it will look good. And I think, obviously the other home has something somewhat similar. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't detract from the property. But, I'm not, I don't know that it violates all of this. I think, it has some issues with 27.1, but the rest, it seems to still meet, so.
So Regina, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Okay, Regina, it's just gonna have a 36-inch tall, balustrade, what do you call it? That's all. So that top deck, that's actually below your roof line.
It is. It is. I'd so say it's not as high, but it's
Yeah, so
getting
it's
up
only
there.
got, those big columns that are on top
Okay.
are gonna get cut off.
Right.
Right,
So,
right.
so I'm conflicted, but I think it'll look nice.
Could you admit your conflict?
So with that, I'll accept the motion.
I can.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application submitted for 929 West Second Street by Regina.
Early wine.
Early Wine, okay, ooh, I was gonna say something entirely different, Early Wine, to complete her deck, as the plans have been submitted.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Right. And just to note, on this is for 929 West Second Street, right?
Is that what I said?
Yeah, wasn't sure if you said that or not. Okay. All right. Brooke?
Carol Ann Rogers,
Deny.
Sandy Palmer,
Deny.
Owen McCall,
Deny.
Ken McWilliams,
Approve.
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
and Josh Wilbur.
Approve. So with that, you will get a certificate of appropriateness in the mail. Just so everyone knows, there has to be 4 denials for it to be denied, or for it to be actually, denied in total. So you had 3 denials.
Squeak.
And 3 approves. So you can continue with your construction as long as you have the proper building permits to go with that. Brooke, do you have anything to add?
I was just gonna say, I know, I think you're going to Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA, in June. So once you obtain that approval, then you'll be able to proceed with the building permit.
Thank you very much.
I assume you're going to be talking with your contractor
Yes,
to
I-
restart that.
I certainly
Would you
would.
mind telling Rooster that he does need permission for that kind of thing?
I will tell
He
him.
should know that, and
I will say there is a bit of a language barrier, but I will.
you don't speak
make-
Spanish, we can find
Yeah.
some.
I will make sure to let him know that in the future, in historic downtown Madison, he needs to
Thank you.
go through the channels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, our next application is 1108 West Main Street.
1103, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, mine
I have
says
1108.
1103. Okay, Fix it.
My name's Doug Helton. I'm the owner down there at the Ironworks, and we was wanting to add on. Basically, what we're wanting to do is, the wall on the east side of the building, we're gonna have to add block to it and make it the same height as the other west wall, and then put new trusses on it. And with that being said, did you get some pictures of that?
Yes, sir. I'll go through those real quick.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and let Brooke go ahead and do the summary, and then we'll go back to you. Yep.
So,
So y'all might have to turn up your mics. My hearing ain't no good.
okay.
They have to holler or throw rocks.
Sorry.
this is a circa 1910 commercial. It is a contributing structure zoned residential medium density. The COA request is to remodel to modify the existing roof line to change the gable roof. So you can see the drawings. And that is all I have.
All right. What materials are you gonna use on this project?
Well, concrete block, I mean, basically everything that's there, and then on the roof, just use that metal roofing.
When you say metal, you gonna use standing seam, you want to use the, exposed fastener roofing? The type of roofing? So you said metal, but what type of metal?
Probably
Exposed?
similar to what's on it. We got some on there, it's galvanized.
I can't remember if it's standing seam or not, though. Can you go back to the picture of it? God, you can't tell.
It is an exposed fastener.
That's what I thought.
All that roof that's on there wasn't original, that was changed back when Madison Marina was being built. They put aluminum roofs on all them buildings, and that got part of that.
Okay. So you're just going back with the same type of roof that's on there, okay? All right. Other questions from the board?
No, but I find that particularly more attractive than what is already there. I've always thought that looked a little awkward, and I can see why you want to do that, so I think that's a good design, and altering that roof line does not disturb me one bit.
Now, in altering your roof line, you're not moving any walls out or anything like that, right?
Yes, the front wall.
Okay, yeah, show us what you're talking about.
This wall here,
Okay.
you can kinda see the darker line right here. Well, you can see it in this office area. And then it comes over to this point. But to get the trusses on, the way the building's set now, to do the trusses, we have to bring this wall out flush to get these trusses to lay on and have support. That building's kinda bent.
Okay.
And we're gonna try to work in it while this is going on, so that's kind of an important thing, you know?
Gotta keep work going, huh?
Right there, you can see
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Southwest corner's not 90 degrees right now.
Okay, I got you, and that's what you're, okay, I'm
And when
with
you say
you.
the front wall, the windows will come, it's still gonna, the side will
It'll
be
be
just
brick.
like that, they still have the same windows?
And what we're probably gonna do, like I said, because we still wanna try to utilize this building and work out of it. But this wall over here, it's got columns. It's a different roof system than I've ever seen, but it's got columns and some great big trusses set on. And then they got boards running this way in the building. Well, when we put it, and that worked out good with it being bent. But these trusses run parallel, or run 90 degrees off of this wall, so when we got up here, we was gonna have trouble with these trusses, you know, being weight bearing and mounting them on that front wall like that, so that's kind of the idea why we wanted to bring this out.
Yep.
Makes,
So with that being said, we're gonna use a steel beam here, cause that wall sunk over the years, and that beam will probably come out here and set, and I got a nice decorative iron post I was gonna put there. And then at that point, when we get the trusses on, then come back and probably change that front wall line. But like I said, we don't wanna, we wanna try to work out of it as much as we can while
Right.
it's going on.
I understand. Okay. So there is more than just the roof line, there's, moving a wall out, so, okay.
And I've been working with FPBH, Trent, and Shane up there, and they, you know, working with them on all the state codes and stuff like that. And as far as the structural part, that front wall be the only thing that'll be changing.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Questions from the audience? All right. Hearing none. Ken, you want to take us through findings of fact?
It doesn't match up with Mr. Helton's building at all. So, the design guidelines and roofs, page 71 to 73. So 15.1 is preserve original significant later roof forms, which we're not doing. Well, we're going to preserve the west end of the building. So, and it's not appropriate to make alterations to portions of roof that can be seen from public view. We're going to do that, but we have to do that. So then the roofing materials, so it's going to be compatible with his existing, western, what'd you call it? Exposed fastener. And so, none of the other sentences make any sense compared to this project. So I think it meets the guidelines.
Okay. All right. Carol Ann?
I agree with him.
Mike?
I agree with him.
Owen?
I agree.
Sandy?
I agree for the same reasons.
I too agree for the same reasons.
Well,
We'll accept the motion.
that's too easy, I'm sorry.
Okay. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to Arliss Helton and Madison Iron Works, that's right, at
1108.
1108 West Main Street.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Brooke?
Josh Wilbur,
Approve?
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
Ken McWilliams,
Approved.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Sandy Palmer,
Approve.
and Carol Ann Rogers.
Approve.
All right. Well, Doug, you'll get your COA in the mail. You can begin work as long as you have all the proper building permits.
All right, and I think those boys up there, that PBH, are gonna take care of that.
There you go. Thank you,
All
Doug.
right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Do I need to sign anything? or-
Nope, you're good.
All right.
Autograph.
You're good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, our next application is 910 West First Street.
Hello, I'm Steve McHugh and 911 West Second Street right now.
All right, thank you, Steve.
So this currently is an empty lot, zoned Historic District Residential. The COA request is to build a new 16 by 48-foot residential structure. These are some inspiration photos.
While you're looking at these, I'll just say, you may recall I was here last fall asking for a yard barn.
Yes.
At that
That
time, you
is-
recommended, you should consider building something there instead. And I've been
Leave it to
scratching-
us to really mess things
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
so, driving around town, we were kind of looking at, this could work if we get the right building in that very narrow lot.
Yeah.
So, that's why we're here.
Kind of that shotgun effect, right?
Right.
Do you have anything more to add, Steve, for us to?
No, not
consider?
really. I think just that we're gonna use materials and designs that we see around town, that LP Smart side, both vertical and horizontal, kind of mixing it between the two levels.
Okay.
At first, I was planning to have the lower level be poured concrete with, brick form on the outside painted. But as I get the prices for that, I may be well having a stud wall with Smart side on that.
Yeah,
So-
cement's pretty
Yeah,
expensive.
so that may kind of change what I'd originally planned. But, so LP Smart side all around,
Okay.
vinyl windows, standing seam, snap lock roof.
So you're going vinyl windows?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it seems like the guidelines, allow that, but I mean, that's kind of the practical material, it's not. Yeah, I'd find it, but again, it's not a restoration, but new construction infill. Let me find that. Not to argue the point, but I
So-
read this very carefully and I was convinced that it was loud. Vinyl clad or vinyl frame windows may be used in new construction, provided that the surrounding window trim and muntin pattern are appropriate to the architectural style and period. And they would be circled with wood trim.
So you said vinyl clad, right? It said vinyl
Yeah, I
clad.
meant the actual wood part, right?
Okay, no,
I mean,
vinyl clad is like it's a wood window, but it's got vinyl cladding on the outside.
Yeah, I think that's the case, yeah. I mean,
So a true vinyl window is all vinyl all the way through.
okay. Well,
And then vinyl clad is actually wood on the inside. It's actually a wood window on the inside.
Yeah.
You got vinyl cladding on the outside.
Okay, I think I'd probably propose to use straight up vinyl, but I guess reading this carefully, vinyl clad and vinyl frame windows.
Yeah, so the frame's the outside, right? But the inside vinyl clad is actually a vinyl, it's wood window. Yeah, the exterior is vinyl, right?
Yeah.
The interior is wood. That's what vinyl clad, it's like aluminum
Oh, I
clad.
see, it's a combination of the two. But it says and vinyl frame, so it seems to allow for straight up vinyl.
Thought your submission said aluminum clad wood windows
Yeah.
and a shingle roof, one place, and then it had a standing seam
Yeah.
steel
Yeah,
other
the
place.
plan's been evolving, so I'd like to amend the submission then to say vinyl.
Okay, well, I mean, okay, so you're wanting to amend to complete total vinyl windows.
That's what I propose.
Okay. And then what type of roofing material are you looking at?
Standing seam snap lock.
So standing seam metal windows.
The roof?
Yeah, the roof.
Standing seam metal. Yeah, I
Yeah.
said windows at the end of that.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say windows. There's no standing seam windows, just metal, okay, gotcha.
So this roofing material does not have exposed metal fasteners, is
No,
that correct?
no.
Okay.
This is the, snap lock is the simulated, standing seam, so it's not a true standing seam roof, but it looks more similar to one than an exposed fastener roof.
That's correct. So that's the floor plan of the upper level. The bottom level is pretty much just garage.
So all your siding will be LP smart siding?
Yes.
Any siding used, okay.
Right.
Steve, is this the design that you're building?
Yeah, I mean, that's not exactly it, but pretty much it, yes. That's as close as we could probably come up with.
So we don't
Stairways on
know
the
what it
inside,
looks
though.
like?
Yeah.
So we don't have you don't have a porch, or is it-
Well,
we
yeah,
don't have a
that's-
picture of what it will look like at all?
How could
That's
we
pretty
vote?
close because that shows a porch under the roof, and that's the intent.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the best view I could probably suggest.
And a garage on the main level? On
Yes.
the ground floor,
Correct.
into the hill?
Okay.
So there wouldn't be a porch, or there will be a porch?
There will be a porch.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just like that, okay.
It's, unfortunately, this drawing's kind of cut off in the paper, but there is a porch at the end. It's, the building is,
Okay,
it's
I see-
40
I
by
see it.
60, but there's an 8-foot addition porch, and that's 8 by 16, under the roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
Facing Second Street,
First,
First Street.
yes.
You are amending what you submitted to, you're removing the aluminum clad wood and you're replacing that with 100% vinyl windows.
Right, because as I read this, it seems to fit, so you can tell me otherwise, but I'm kind of reading that verbatim.
Other questions from the board?
Yes, you have, your lot is 24 feet wide and the house is 16. Are you going to be closer to one neighbor than the other, or will you have room?
I'm gonna try to stay 4 feet from each neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
equidistant.
because the house that's directly to your west has a little
Concrete,
sidewalk.
yeah, actually, the 4 feet would be the concrete.
Okay, thank you.
Has this gone in front of the planning commission yet?
It does not need to, it's
It
3
does.
foot setback.
So it does
for that
have enough,
zoning.
the setbacks are good? Okay,
Correct.
just want to make sure.
I think it was reviewed.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure.
Okay,
Other questions from the board? All right, any questions from the audience? All right. With this one, Carol Ann, you want to
May I borrow your,
take
I just
findings of
can't
fact?
see that far.
Did you find that on your own, or did I have it in the submission?
What's that?
That drawing, that,
Okay.
that,
Ow.
was
Okay,
that,
maintain a similar front, side, and rear yard setback to other historic buildings on the block and/or the side of the street. Maintain the pattern of building separation and lot coverage that is found on the block and/or the side of the street. Place outbuildings. Do you have any outbuildings that are going to go with this? Okay.
no.
Then that probably, yeah, that doesn't apply. Minimize ground disturbance during new construction to avoid unnecessary damage to unknown archaeological resources. Okay. If you find any artifacts or animals, let us know. New construction should have heights consistent with neighboring dwellings along the block. Make the scale of the proposed building compatible with the scale of contributing structures along the block or the side of the street. Okay. Design the proportion, the ratio of height to width of the proposed new building and its architectural elements to be consistent with the proportion of contributing buildings and their associated architectural elements on the block or the side of the street. Use windows and doors in new construction that are compatible in proportion, shape, location, pattern, and size with windows and doors of contributing buildings on the block or side of the street. Keep the siding and trim material of the proposed building consistent with the materials traditionally used on the immediate block and in the historic district. Wood siding, wood shingles is typically found in gables, and brick were common sheathing materials and should be used. One more. Okay. The use of substitute products such as vinyl, aluminum, and pressed board siding may be appropriate. Use of fiber cement siding may be approved for use on new structures. If this type of siding is used, it should have a smooth exterior finish, not grained to resemble wood. In all circumstances, every effort shall be made to ensure that new structures and the application of modern-day products achieve compatibility with existing historic buildings that define the character of the Madison Historic District. Oh, okay. Use materials in traditional ways. New materials should appear as if they were applied in a traditional manner so as to convey the same visual appearance as historically used and applied building materials. Vinyl clad and vinyl frame windows may be used in new construction, provided that the surrounding window trim and the muntin pattern are appropriate to the architectural style and period of the structure. If the windows have divided lights, they shall be either true divided lights, TDL, or simulated divided lights, SDL, which have three-dimensional grills on both the interior and exterior sides and a shadow bar. Snap-in grills or grills between the glass are not appropriate. Let's see, what's a good, 14, okay. Use architectural details on the building that complement the architectural details of contributing structures on the block or on side of the street. Provide a date brick or other exterior date identification marker on all new construction to assist future generations in the dating of buildings. Is that it? Oh, there's more? Okay. Create in new construction a similar degree of texture as that found in contributing buildings in the historic district. Texture is the relief on a building surface that is achieved through use and interaction of a variety of building materials and shapes. Materials such as weatherboard siding and decorative fish scale shingles are examples of architectural elements that have different physical and visual qualities and contribute to the texture of the building surface. Design new construction that reflects the basic shapes and forms on the block and in the historic district. Maintain consistency with style of buildings and contributing structures found on the block and or the side of the street. Roof forms commonly found in the historic district include gable varieties with an average pitch of 712 or greater and hipped roof. Okay. Maintain similar percentages and patterns of window and door openings consistent with the style of the buildings. Openings which vary considerably from the established patterns found on the block in which the new construction is placed will have a disruptive effect on the desired streetscape harmony. Okay? And I think that it meets the guidelines. I do.
I agree with Carol Ann.
I don't feel like we've been given nearly enough information about this house. I'm not sure all of the decisions have even been made. I mean, more than half of these, we can't even address it. So I don't think we have nearly enough information to even know whether this is consistent with the guidelines. So I guess I'd have to say no.
Sandy?
I would agree with the guidelines, as with Carol, as she stated.
Ken?
No, I agree with Owens. We don't have half the information we need to say, we don't know how tall this house is. We don't know how deep it goes into the hill. So we don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, I have to agree that we haven't seen, any renderings of the outside. We saw your renderings of the inside, but, we really do not know. I don't know what the pitch of your roof is, things like that, which help. I mean, I want to know what I'm voting on, in totality, because all of a sudden we could be going down there and you got something that's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was
Sounds
that
like you
high.
just need a more detailed print or
Yeah,
view.
I think everything sounds really good, except for I just don't know what this outside really looks like. The inside, I got a good idea what you're doing on the inside. I know it's probably gonna have this porch, but I can't see it from the outside. I don't know what that outside looks like.
Well, that one view that I offered, that kind of, the first view is gonna look a whole lot like that, except for being not so wide. I think that's probably 24 feet and ours is 16 feet. But it's gonna look a whole lot like that, except for two kinds of siding, the top and bottom, instead of the stone at the bottom. So
But
it's
what's the height and what's your pitch of your roof?
two floors, and the pitch of the roof's 812 on the outside, and 4 scissor truss, 412 on the inside.
Okay.
So, again, that's
So
really close.
We know, it's 16 foot this way.
Correct.
We know the depth,
Right, 40 feet for the building plus 8 feet for the porch.
So you got 2 stories, so what is your height? that you're
No,
doing?
yeah, nominal 8-foot, wall height there. So
8 each, so 16 foot is what you're.
nominally, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it says 16 by 48 here.
Yeah.
But I think that's 16 foot
So
across 48 deep.
to visualize it, I mean, look at that and scale it down a bit.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, though, but we wanted, what I'm looking for is your actual version, not.
Oh, okay,
This is
yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah, this is what it will
Eight,
probably
yeah,
look like.
812 on the outside is where I'm headed at this point, but I could go a little bit higher, but definitely greater than 7, no problem there.
Okay, so the top height of this home will be no higher than 16? That's what you're expecting?
That's just the 2 floors, right? So
Yeah,
top
I
of the
know,
roof,
but that's what
top of
I'm
the roof
that's
is
what I'm looking
plus
for, a
the
number from you,
gable,
right?
yeah.
So,
But if you look to the house to the west, it's gonna be about the same height as that.
normally they gotta be congruent, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, I
the
mean, it's,
guidelines. That's why
it's
I'm
not gonna
asking.
stand up like,
But that's why I'm asking,
Yeah,
right?
sure,
I need to hear from you.
right, so
what that
if I
is.
did the geometry real quick, I could tell you the extra height of the gable, but
Yeah.
at an 812, I don't, what's that mean?
It's gonna
I
be,
don't know.
yeah, so you're gonna stay within the height of nearby structures?
Oh, yeah, it's
You're not
there's
gonna
a
go
cro-
above?
No,
Okay.
it's not 3 floors or anything, it's just 2
Yeah, because the
floors.
one west is like,
2 floors, yeah. And
Yeah,
across the street, there's an older place, a brick place that's 2 floors.
Again, you understand why I'm asking.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, my-
I
okay.
apologize for not having more detail, but to be honest, we kind of did this on our own.
Okay.
Didn't really have a lot of drawings.
Gotcha. Yeah, you didn't have Ball State doing it for you. Got it.
Right. That was a,
Okay. Hearing the dimensions, for me, the dimensions and understanding dimensions are going to be within what's in the neighborhood and not gonna go above any of the neighboring homes in height, because that's one of the missing features. Certainly the pitch of the roof, you gave us that. I think then that's what the guidelines say. Brooke, you wanna take us through?
We need a motion.
Oh, that's right, we need a motion for that. My mind's about ready to go. All right, I'll accept the motion on this, application.
I can do
Based
that.
on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review approve a certificate of appropriateness to Steve McHugh for new construction of a 16 by 48 residence at 910 West First Street. Oh, I should go, so brick and stone, cementous siding, vinyl windows, and a painted standing seam snap block metal roof.
Yep, but the one thing I want to amend there is the cementous siding, it'd be like LP Smart Side, which is engineered wood. So I'm vacating my position on the cement board after further investigation. Since I submitted that, a little investigation says I'm not doing that.
Okay, so again, what are you,
Engineered.
what are you changing it to?
LP Smart Side, engineered wood. But besides that, yes, as described. Thank you.
Do you wanna amend that part or?
Sure, I do.
Or do you wanna redo
I
that?
do. So I am at where a certificate of appropriateness to Steve McHugh for a 16 by 48 residence at 910 West First Street using brick, stone, LP Smart siding, vinyl windows, and a painted standing seam snap block metal roof.
Would you add anything in there about the pitch of the roof?
Oh,
and
pitch of the roof, and
And height?
an 812 pitch roof, and the height not to exceed any of the neighboring
There you go.
houses.
Yep,
If they're still standing when you,
that's a good note there.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mike Pittman,
Approve?
Carol Ann Rogers,
Approve?
Sandy Palmer,
approve.
Owen McCall,
Do not approve.
Ken McWilliams,
Approve.
and Josh Wilbur.
Approved. So you'll get your COA in the mail.
Okay.
Of course, you'll need building permits for this
Yes.
project, of course. And you need those before you begin the project, but congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Second time's a charm.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Steve. All right, our next application is 411 East First Street.
My name's Jack Oliver, and I live at 411 East First Street, Madison, Indiana, and this is my wife, Wanda.
All right, thank you very much. If you want to, you can have a seat there, that way you don't have to stand the whole time, if you'd like.
I've been sitting for a long time.
Okay, then you can stand. Brooke, you wanna go over something?
This is a circa 1900 side gable. It is a non-contributing structure zoned Central Business District. The COA request is to build an accessibility ramp on the west side of the home's deck to extend to the south to the road. So currently, the ramp is on the front of the structure. The applicants are wanting to move this to the west side, but on the front, where the ramp comes out towards the south, to leave part of that, the straight part of the ramp, to leave part of that up to where it would cover the steps, and then do a railing around it, and then moving the ramp over to the west. So I'm gonna go through some of the pictures. So in this picture, if you look at that first run that basically is the length of the steps that's closest to the home, they would like to keep that in place, but the ramp will be moved to the west. You can see different pictures of the ramp as it exists. The design will be similar to what it is now. But the steps were deteriorated, and One of the reasons the applicants are wanting to keep that wood portion there is due to the deterioration of those existing steps.
Brooke, the ramp is aiming west now.
Correct. So the ramp is aiming west now, but if you look at where the metal railing is on that side of the deck side of the house,
Okay.
which is to the left in this photo, the ramp will come, let me see if I can get a little bit better angle. Okay, so actually, I guess that's gonna be our best photo. So the ramp would actually come out to the left of where that deck comes out.
Yeah.
Yes, our left. But towards the rear of that deck, so it's going to be set back from the street, approximately 6-7 feet.
On this side of the deck?
Yes, on that side of the
On this
deck.
side of the deck,
Yes.
coming out this way.
Correct,
Not connected at all to that.
correct. That will be removed.
This deck is still there.
Yes, yes. Mhm. Yep, the ramp part will be removed in the front. And it will be relocated to the side, coming off that wood deck, kind of to the rear, but coming out towards the street. That will allow for compliance with ADA on the fall of the ramp, because it can only fall so much per, I think it's an inch per 12 feet or something, or something like that. It's, anyway, or an inch, it's something, but it will be, it will go to ADA specs. And that is all I have.
So my question is on the structure you want to keep. From what I can see, are part of those posts actually cemented in the ground, and then the two on the street are actually on the cement? They're just sitting on the cement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, just a second. Yeah, probably back. These are sitting on cement, like these.
Okay.
This one and this one in the back is actually in the concrete. But those steps have been deteriorating for about the last 2-3 years. Now they're really falling apart. And it's too dangerous for people to walk up to the porch. And so, I don't know how deep those steps are, but we had a person come down and give us an estimate on building a ramp and almost had a heart attack. And so, my son come down and he said, "Dad, we can do that ourselves." He said, "I'll come down and get off work." And I told him, I said, "Well, I don't know what it would cost to have somebody come in with a jackhammer and truck, to bust all that up in there.
Right.
So it would be nice if we could keep this to here, and then we would put lattice in here to cover that. And then we wanted to put a few plants around that.
Okay.
And we were gonna paint that gray like the porch,
Okay.
so it just blend right in. But this part here, this platform here and all this here is coming off.
Okay.
And this deck here, we recently found out we have 5 more feet of property on the other side of the deck. We didn't know about it when we started this. But now that we know about it, and, we wanna be compliant with things, so now, we're gonna come off the back side of the deck and come down that edge right to the street level.
Okay.
So it won't be sticking out into the street.
Yeah.
And really,
Okay.
you won't even know it's there unless you walk by and then kind of look back
Yeah.
at it.
Okay.
And the reason we're doing that is my wife has cervical dystonia and crippling arthritis. She's disabled, and I'm disabled now too, because of my work.
Yeah.
And so we're doing this on our own, at our own expense, because we couldn't afford to have somebody come in and do it, because
Yeah.
we just live
Yeah.
on a fixed fixed income, and it's just too much.
Understand. So the piece that you're keeping is basically the 4 posts that, and the wood decking covering the steps.
Yes, yes.
And then you're gonna, obviously put lattice below, but then you're gonna put railing around it.
Yes.
So it just basically becomes a part of your current porch,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That you could utilize basically as a porch,
Yeah.
extended porch. Okay.
And then once we put the lattice over that, then we're gonna put plants
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna look really nice once we get it done.
Okay.
I just wasn't aware we had the extra land on the other side.
Sure.
And, I didn't know that if you were doing it yourself, I thought as long as it wasn't an extraordinary amount, that you could go ahead and do it without getting a permit, and that was my fault.
Well, it's okay. We're glad you're here, and we're glad you're talking to us about it. We understand. You're just trying to do what you need to obviously to get in and out of your house every day, and we understand. I think everybody here understands that. So, I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Oliver, I just have one thing. We came by the other day. We were on a golf cart and I waved at you. You were sitting on the front porch. And when I looked at this and the pictures that we had in our thing, it shows just that. And I thought, that doesn't comply to me because it's actually on the concrete of the street.
Right.
And it seemed like, I don't think you can do that. It looked like it needed to be moved back about 3 feet. But the way you're talking about doing it now, I can agree with that because you're still gonna be on the property and not in the street.
Right.
Thank you.
One of the big problems with this section from Walnut Street to East Street on the north side, there is no sidewalk. There's never been one there. And the way I'm parked right now is the way I've parked for 45 years. We bought this place 45 years ago. We wanted to retire there and raised our family. And that is the distance that we park. Because there's no sidewalk or anything there. And like I say, for 45 years, us and the people who live next to us park the same way. And there's never been any question about it.
Understand.
But like you said, it was our fault that we didn't comply, with the historic board.
Well, you didn't know, and in this case, on something like this, where you're trying, you're trying to put something in for ADA issues. Some people don't know that, and that one I can understand. Unlike others that might come before us that the work's already done, these are ones where I do understand what you're trying to do. So we appreciate it that you're coming to us now, right? So
And we couldn't go around to the side on the right side there because there's no access. I mean, there's a door there.
yeah,
But like when you wouldn't be able to get a wheelchair over there.
yeah.
And you wouldn't be able to get it in that side door because that side door, when it opens up, it's opening up right into the wall. So.
Yeah. I understand.
And it would cost a lot of money to have all that redone anyway.
Isn't that an alley on your right side?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
and it's probably owned by the city, maintained by the
Yes.
city?
Yes.
Okay.
And, if we had, again, this goes back to money. If you put a sidewalk up the side by that ramp to come around, to come back down this way, to come out on the front of the porch, you would have to have a backhoe go in there and knock out a concrete block wall. And you'd have to have that moved back 4 feet and then have a new wall put in and everything. You'd probably talk about $25,000.
At least.
So, this was our only option.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Other
It
questions?
is planned to be taken down and
Yeah.
redone.
Yeah, with according to what you
Yes.
guys have projected. Yeah,
Yes.
no doubt. Okay. Other questions from the board?
Are you planning to continue the metal railing or wood around the front? the part you want to leave there? To match your porch, or?
This is all metal railing, and then when we come off the deck here, we'll be using the 4x4s out of this.
No, I meant like the section that you want to leave covering the steps. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I
here.
wasn't
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, we've got some of this same kind of railing we can stick in here and, block that off right there, because that's not gonna be left open.
Okay.
That's gonna be part of your porch. That's why I was just wondering what
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, it's gonna look like the porch,
So you're gonna use your metal railing to
Yes.
go in there, that's the railing type.
so
Okay.
it will all blend
Yes,
in
okay.
together.
Okay, good. All right, good question, Sandy. Any other questions? All right, questions from the audience? All right, hearing none, Mike?
Findings of fact. Install accessibility ramps, chair lifts, elevators on side or rear elevation. You have very limited options with that house, don't you? So, I mean, it looks like you're doing a good job in planning and being flexible on what you can do, and it looks like a good creative idea. Minimize the visual impact, but you're putting the railing back on, where you got it, and it's gonna be on the side. When an accessibility structure must be installed on a front elevation, it should be concealed with landscaping, which you're gonna do. I can't wait to see the plants, it's gonna look good. With retaining walls or lattice underpinning, which you're gonna put some lattice around it, so I think they actually more than meet the findings of fact.
Should I ask, the part they're gonna keep kind of becomes part of their porch, because it's actually porch, under the porch provision, wouldn't it?
It depends on how you want to look
I
at
think
that.
this is all driven by the accessibility ramp,
It is,
so.
but the part they're keeping is not.
The little part that's gonna extend out toward the street.
So should it not be considered under their porch guidelines?
I can pull those up
I'm
if
just
you'd like.
Yeah,
asking.
if you want
I'm
to.
just asking what
If
you
you
know,
wanna cover, yeah, we can do it.
just
Give
so
me a
we're,
second and I'll get that pulled up real
just so
quick.
we're,
Sure. That's okay. No, I think the fact you're keeping that front over those steps that are deteriorating is more of a safety issue than historic
Yeah,
guideline
we're
issue.
afraid that,
Yeah.
the mailman, or if we have visitors come over, or
Yep.
even her and I trying to carry groceries into the house.
Yep.
40 years ago, it didn't matter.
Sure.
you don't have to go through it.
I guess 14.5 would probably be the most applicable
Okay.
guideline.
The 14.5 says the enclosures or other alterations of original or historic front porches is not appropriate in the historic district. Didn't you say this is a non-contributing too?
This
It's
is a
non-contributing.
non-contributing structure.
So really, and it says also, I think 14.6 is covering a porch with a non-historic material such as vinyl, which you're not doing, you're using wood to cover those steps because they're dangerous. And I think that more than meets what I would say are those two particular guidelines.
Okay, no problem. Owen?
I agree with Mike.
Sandy?
I agree for the same reasons.
Ken?
I agree, same reason.
Caroline?
I agree for the same reason.
And I will just add to what Mike said, though, you're really not altering the historic porch. It's actually a temporary structure. So because it's not really altering the porch, it really doesn't, fit that anyway, because you can take it out and the original porch is there. And I also say that what you're putting above, you're saving the original steps
Yeah.
from deteriorating further. Somebody else buys a house maybe down the road, and let's say it's 100 years from now, because that's how much longer you got. So, they can then still fix the original stuff. That's still preserving things. So I applaud you for what you're doing.
Well, thank
So I think it beats the findings of fact as well. So I'll accept a motion.
I can make the motion.
Okay.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to Mr. and Mrs. Jack Oliver for the proposed application to build an accessibility ramp on the west side of the home's deck to extend to the south to the road,
You also want to include the,
and also to in,
yeah,
Cover the porch, the steps.
and cover the porch and the steps? Oh, and to put a railing around the portion of the wooden
structure.
structure to cover the steps.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Brooke?
Josh Wilbur,
Approve?
Ken McWilliams,
Approve.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Sandy Palmer,
Approve.
Carol Ann Rogers,
Approve.
and Mike Pittman.
Approve.
All right, well, you get your certificate of appropriateness in the mail, and you can begin construction as long as you got all the proper building permits that you might need as well. So thank you very much. Thank you both for what you do. Thank you for what you've done for Madison all these years, too. Thank you.
Oh, can I suggest something?
You sure can.
Okay, so like, we have a lot of visitors that come into Madison that stay at the hotel on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, there's a lot of people that ask me where different things are, you know, in the city.
Okay.
And I guess they don't realize where the visitor center is.
Oh, okay.
And like right there, maybe somewhere on the river, if there could be like a post or something there with the little pamphlets.
Oh.
Inside of it,
Right.
so that they would have that to know where
Where it's at.
everything's at,
Okay.
because they really get confused on, I do not give direction very good.
We may have to just give you the pamphlets.
Well, I could stick it on that railing there. But if you could put one of those down there, that would really help the visitors as they come in.
All right. Brooke,
think
you want
we
to take
can-
that as a suggestion for the mayor and the city
Yeah.
council?
I certainly will,
right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much
very
again.
much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
Y'all have
coming
a
in.
good
You
evening.
guys have a good
You
evening,
too.
too.
Okay.
All right, the next application is 721 West First Street. Been sitting a while, it's okay.
My election votes, please.
All right, you-
I'm Dean Miller. I own 721 West First Street, which you can see is an antique mall currently.
okay, all right, Brooke?
This is an 1854 Greek revival. It is a contributing structure zoned heavy manufacturing. COA request is to install an accessory building. You can see a site plan of where that approximately is going to sit. This is showing that, if you look at the drawing on the left where it shows where the accessory building will sit, it will not be in the floodway. And these are renderings of what it's going to look like. And that is all I have.
Would you like to add anything to that?
Pretty cut and dried.
I'll take my COA and go home.
Well, here you go.
Good. All right, questions from the board?
I have no questions, but I drove around and sat there and looked at that. It looks like it's an easy one. You need the space, you need the wide door. It doesn't really affect that little red door to the right, and it's dang near out of everybody's sight anyway.
Yes. We try to be unobtrusive.
And you are.
He's got too much business, that's the problem.
Never.
Other questions, anything?
Now, are you gonna access your major door there from the back or the front? I assume from the back.
There is currently a double door that goes into the building.
Okay.
The roll-up door will be placed in front of those double doors so that I can access it from the inside or access it from the outside.
Okay.
Anything else? Questions from the audience? Come on up.
This is my support group.
Oh my.
Friend of the court.
You
My
state-
name is Charles Ricketts.
Thank you, Charles.
And my wife Mary Pat. We
live at 707 West First Street, and we live adjacent to Dean's property. I'd like to say what you've already pointed out, and I think Sandy did, that it's practically unnoticeable, or will be unnoticeable from First Street due to the fact that there's land that slopes up to First Street, and he has landscaped that with shrubbery. And also it's set back 18 feet from the south line of his building, which pretty much means it can't be seen from Plum Street. So we have no objections to it. He's a good neighbor. More people should have one like him.
Yes, you should.
Thank you. Any other comments? Customers, you brought them all with you. All right. Right. Hearing no more comments from the audience, then we'll go to findings of fact. No one, you want to take us through findings of fact?
Okay, new construction, outbuildings. Okay, design of new garages and other accessory buildings should be compatible with dwellings in the historic district. New outbuildings should respect and blend with the architectural style and scale of the associated dwelling. So this is a much lower scale than the original dwelling. I'd say it blends with it. The whole area is, I mean, even though there is a beautiful residence, we just heard from the owner of that, the area, especially on that side, is industrial in character. So this is in fitting with that. Site new garages and accessory buildings appropriately on the lot, which this one is. Detached new garages, this is not, so we can ignore that. Attached garages and accessory buildings should be set back from the front facade. This very much is. At least 1/3 of the total depth. I think that's just about exactly what it is set back. Okay, 24.4, the outbuilding should maintain a proportional mass size and height. Okay, so make sure it's not taller or wider than the principal building. It is much shorter and narrower than the principal building, so it also conforms with 24.4.
Okay. Sandy?
And I agree with the other thing, the material you had on there was metal and that's struck out, and you're gonna use the T1, the board.
It's T111.
I agree with the same.
There'll be a concrete skirt wall that's 2 foot high, and then the T111 is above that.
I agree with the same reason.
Ken?
Agree, same reasons.
Carol Ann?
I agree, same reason.
Mike?
I agree for the same reasons.
And I too agree for the same reasons. So with that, we'll accept a motion.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to Dean Miller for the proposed new constructed outbuilding to go on the east side of the main structure, located at 721 West First Street.
I
Do a
second.
Okay. Brooke?
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
Ken McWilliams,
Approved.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Josh Wilbur,
Approve.
Sandy Palmer,
Approve.
and Carol Ann Rogers.
Approve.
All right, well, with that, you'll get a COA in the mail. You can begin the building as long as you got the proper building permits.
Okay, as an aside, the last lady was talking about brochures. The Visit Madison brochure has almost everything in it.
Yeah.
And they should be at the hotel. Maybe they need to be more prominently placed.
May be a good idea too, yes.
They're welcome to come down to my building. We have lots of them.
You got those.
Her next door neighbor actually owns the hotel, so all she's gotta do is just go next door.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dean. All right, our next application is 310 Broadway Avenue. We've seen you before tonight. Oh, no. You could state your name and address for us.
My name is Susie Hollinger. My husband and I own the building at 310 Broadway.
All right. Oh, hold on just a second. Brooke, you want to go do the,
This is a circa 1860 vernacular commercial structure. It is a contributing structure zoned historic district residential. The COA request is to build a new faux balcony over the front entrance to match the existing balconies on the north side. So going through those, you'll see the front of the building as it currently is. This was the north side before the faux balconies were installed. This is currently what that north side looks like. These are other examples in the nearby district with faux balconies as well. This is a drawing of what the new one will look like. So, again, we'll go back to that. It's going to look just like those, but placed over the front. Like that. And that's all I have.
So Susie, well, this will have, it will be the wood and iron all together, just.
Exactly.
Holy crap.
It's a technical
Clean
term.
something over there.
I think maybe I stepped on a cord.
Okay. Disapprove.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked really hard to find, as we have on the interior especially, reclaimed wood that is the same age as the building, around 100 to 150 years old. So we try really hard to use that. You'll notice on the balconies that you did approve for the north side, which we truly appreciate. We've gotten a lot of compliments on them. We did use the old wood, but for the railing, we went with something that was safer and more substantial. We went with the wood and the metal, and then I just stressed the wood on the bottom and the top to try to resemble the wood on the side.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's just a pretty property. You've done such a good job with it.
I have some brochures I would like to give to you.
Oh, so you have brochures. Well, all this time, you could have been giving the brochures out.
Well, I wanted to gain your confidence in my ability to visualize a little bit.
Go ahead, bring them on up.
The top one is the Livery Loft, which is what we just finished, which is where the balconies are. And so we're really proud of it. We're just getting ready to open it up for residential.
And what is gonna be the purpose?
It's residential, either Airbnb or downtown housing, whichever somebody wants or needs the most.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. You'll see that we have worked really hard to maintain the original ceiling on the inside of the upstairs, which Zach, the guy that's with me, will verify that Robbie and Larry Childress, who isn't able to be here tonight, worked really, really hard to get 160 years old of coal residue and every animal poop imaginable off of that ceiling. Because it was literally coated black, and they worked for 2 weeks to restore that ceiling, to get it into the condition that it's in now. So we've worked really hard to maintain the inside as well as the outside, and to bring in age-appropriate wood and furnishings that also blend with the contemporary style.
We're going to have our next meeting there. I didn't know if you knew that, but.
Okay. We can sleep 13 if you want to spend the night if it goes away.
Well, let's not go for a long meeting.
How about, are you busy tonight?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is wonderful what you've done with the place and brought it back to life, from being a structure that was just deteriorating away, and it was sad to see it, so.
We truly have put our life savings into trying to restore it and to make it safe and make it last another 160 years.
Yes, thank you so much.
So this is actually how, I'm sorry, how the front will look. It'll be painted balcony, not on the side, you've got the exposed wood, but it's.
Yes, well, I drew that with a marker, so it will have the wood. It looks all black on the drawing, but actually will
It
look
will be
just
like
like
this,
that.
okay.
It'll be the reclaimed wood. We try real hard to find a 150-year-old. I have a garage full of old wood right now for the rooftop here, so we want to put on, and then also in hopes that you'll approve the balconies for the front. Those actually have turned out to be a really good safety feature as well, because they didn't want to put bars in the ceiling, but we wanted them to be able to open those windows so toddlers could easily have fallen out if they were up as they pushed on the screens. So the balconies have been a great fire safety feature for that, and also would become the same on the front as well, if anyone would try to get out of those front windows, because we had them rebuilt
Yeah.
with the original glass, and
Yeah.
so they are functional.
Nice.
So we would like to put the balcony so that it resembles the side, carries that design to the front, gives it a little more architectural interest, also a safety feature. There originally was, I do have pictures on my phone, and where there really originally was some type of an awning, didn't appear to be a balcony, but an awning. I don't know if you have that picture of that, Brooke.
I do, I can, pull that up.
It was
If you'd like to
fabric,
see
which,
that.
I don't know if the wind has changed since that happened 160 years ago or not, but an awning, a fabric awning will not work on that side. We get terrible winds there.
No.
So that's why the bolts and fixtures that held that up there are still there, so that's across the street. Yeah, that's the building across the street, the old livery stable. Anyway, there was originally something over the front door, and so we would like to put something else above the front door that resembles the north side.
Understand.
Perfect.
Okay. Other questions? Any questions from the audience? All right, hearing none. Sandy, you want to take us through findings of fact?
All right, install new awnings or buildings of traditional locations such as over storefronts. This is, and select awnings of traditional design. This is, doesn't apply to that one, I don't think. Use awnings of traditional materials, which you're trying to do with the reclaimed wood and the then canvas awnings. Install awnings so they do not damage surrounding historic fabric. I'm assuming that this is, will be that way.
Oh,
I mean, it could, if it's somebody wanted to remove it, it would be
Oh, yes,
removable.
they can be removed. They're bolted in through the brick.
As any others,
I think that's it, isn't it? Brooke,
And
that's it?
damage it.
Over it? Yeah. Okay.
okay.
Do you believe that meets?
So I think the proposal meets the guidelines,
Owen?
the applicable ones.
I agree for those reasons.
Mike?
I agree for the same reasons.
Carol Ann?
I agree.
And Ken? All right. And I too agree for the same reasons. So with that, we'll accept the motion.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review approve a certificate of appropriateness for Suzanne Hollinger to construct a faux balcony over the front entrance to match the north side balconies of the 310 Broadway Street
Do we have a second?
location.
I second.
All right. Brooke?
Josh Wilbur,
Approve?
Mike Pittman,
Approve?
Ken McWilliams,
Approve.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Sandy Palmer,
Approve.
and Carolyn Rogers.
Approve.
All right.
Very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Susie. Appreciate it. All right, our next application and our last one of the evening. You didn't have to sit through much tonight. 713 West Main Street. You want to state your name and address for us?
Yeah, Kyle Helton, I live at 730 West Main. That is actually not the,
No, that is not
Oh.
his house, I apologize.
Oh.
I can pull up a picture. of
She,
his
she was
house.
seeing if we're paying attention,
Yeah.
and,
See how many of us were away?
That one
That
last
one
time.
doesn't look like that
and if
anymore.
you knew what your house actually looked like, and you passed the test, that's good. That's the first thing.
So, let me, I'll pull it up real quick.
We've seen that other one for other with another application.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Well, this is new construction.
We have the picture in our,
Yes, you do have the picture in your packets, but,
Sure, yeah.
713 Main.
So you want to go ahead and
Yep.
give us a summary?
so that's the house. All right, that we're talking about. So, yeah, let me go back to that. All right, so this is circa 1870 Craftsman. It's a non-contributing zone specialty district. The COA request is to put obviously I didn't have that on that slide, so I moved forward. But it is to put a new doorway in on the second floor with a rear fire escape coming off the back as seen in these drawings. So you can see the current home as it sits right now on the rear. This new elevation drawing.
We want to put a door on the second floor there. We're going to have an optometry office on the first floor and then have residential on the second. What it kind of boils down to.
And that is a picture of the door that they are proposing to install on the second floor.
Fiberglass, yeah.
And that is all I have, so I'll stick with that one if that picture looks good.
All right. You have anything more to add to that, what she said, or you feel pretty good with it?
Straightforward. Going to open optometry office, going to have someone to rent above and need a way to get in. There's no space to do steps or, and with the fire code, have to have the way to get out in the back.
Gotcha.
Are you the optometrist?
My wife is. I'm an
Your wife.
assistant principal.
Oh, okay.
She got the better job.
All right, thank you.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, come on, who doesn't want kids all day? And,
4 days
you
left
know.
of school.
Yeah, it's May, it's May.
Oh, shoot. All right. Any other questions from the board on this?
No, just a comment. I think it's completely appropriate because I think you need that outside exit.
Thank
And it just tucks right in there, once you add that door.
I actually think, you're totally correct. It makes the back actually look better.
Thank you.
It's not normal, I would say that, to, change something over, add a door, but it kind of almost like the space was meant to have it.
Yeah, you're supposed to have a door.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like the space between those two
Yeah.
in the back. Yeah, it fit perfect.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd, yeah. And so I was, the fiberglass door, it's all wood, steps you're putting in,
Yes.
looks like, from there, okay. Right. All right, any questions from the audience? All right, hearing none, let's see, Sandy, did you just do it?
I did, but
It's all right.
I'm on a roll.
We'll put Ken.
It's architecturally compatible.
Okay, well, you go ahead.
It's in the rear. And on the 10-1, it is in the rear and it's compatible with the structure.
Okay. Owen?
So I think it's acceptable.
And I agree with
He says
Sandy.
compatible, so I thought- All right.
I
Mike?
agree for the same reasons.
Carol Ann?
I agree.
Ken?
I agree.
And I too agree for the same reasons. So accept a motion.
Based on the preceding findings of fact,
See,
look, guys.
she is working on it.
I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review approve a certificate of appropriateness to, is it Kyle Helton?
Kyle, yeah. My first
Floor.
name's Robert.
The construction of steps and a new door at the new addition at 713 West Main Street.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Brooke?
Carol Ann Rogers,
Approve.
Sandy Palmer,
Approve.
Owen McCall,
Approve.
Ken McWilliams,
Approved.
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
and Josh Wilbur.
Approved. All right, Kyle. Well, you'll get your COA in the mail and you can begin construction as long as you get the right building permits with it.
We're waiting on the state, so.
All right.
Thank you for your
Understand.
patience.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thanks for hanging in.
Yep. And summer soon. You too. All right, so we have new business. Part of new business, which I think you guys got the email from Brooke, we have to go back through the process for the updated Madison HDBR Administrative Review Guide, because we missed, a step in the last one because we had moved the meeting, as you may remember. So this has to be basically the first meeting to discuss that. I know that everyone on this board's probably discussed a lot, but of course now you have a chance to discuss it again if you would like, and we have to give a chance for anyone present in the audience to, make any comments about it as well. So any commentary? Yes, go ahead, Ken.
This is new for me, this period.
Yeah.
But in the last guidelines, Mike, I thought we put in non-contributing was all staff approval. And I don't see, I had Brooke send me out the 2020 guidelines and non-contributing is not mentioned, but
I think we decided not to do that. I think even though the buildings may be classified as non-contributing, they may be pretty important buildings. I think that was the thought
All right.
process. But again, I've slept since then. So, you know,
I think you're right. I think that, you know, when they're changing the features on the non-contributing building, depending on what that is, I know Owen's brought it up a few times on buildings that are non-contributing, but, you know, there could be a building certainly that, you know, they want to do some things that really change it up enough that we would want to, you know, it's not really in the guidelines of what the historic district, you know, would need or should have. We still would want to have, the public have input, us to give input to that, you know, change. I think that's why we didn't do that. You know, and you probably know this better than anybody, because I know you've been really big on that through the years, so.
All right, another piece. So chimneys, there should be a separate section in chimneys for the 1960, 1970, 1980s HVAC chimney installs. When they went to forced air, they had to vent out the gases through the roof. And those are just non-historic, you know, like the two we took off Carrie's house. You know, and Jerome pointed that out, that was an HVAC, you know, that wasn't historic, that's been there just, and most of those HVAC units were installed in Madison in the 70s and early 80s. So I think there ought to be a section in there that allows staff to, you know, say, that's a brand-new chimney, you can take it out.
With proof that it is you know, one of those types of chimneys. Any comments from the rest of the board on that?
I think that's a good idea.
Good one, Ken.
All right.
I'm
Ken,
on a run.
You got one attaboy, let's not push it.
I don't know. Oh, I said for you to speak louder. Then,
Okay, well, if we're.
should there be a section on solar?
Solar, there is.
No, in the guidelines, but not in,
Staff approval?
yes.
In the new
Oh,
updated version, there is a section for staff to approve solar as long as it conforms to the guidelines.
Okay, then good.
So, like, for example, recently, we've had, 3 solar applications? One was on the front extent of the home, that's where it had to go. So that would not be in conformance to the guidelines. But the other 2 were on rear elevation, so those would have been handled at the staff level rather than having to come to the board.
Okay, so since we're bringing little details like this up, I noticed something the other day that I never did during the first review, and that is, unless I was hallucinating, in the guidelines now, when you're talking about new construction, it says in there, when you build a new building, you're supposed to put in like a little cornerstone or something to say what year it was built, which to me, that seems a little precious.
Where did that come from? I don't know where it came from. Came from us not editing.
Our contractor that did our guidelines, suggested that be placed in there, and, it was approved after multiple reviews by the board and then city council, so.
So that's the actual guidelines, though, that's.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, so to amend that would be a large process at this point.
Never have to worry about when something's built.
So Brooke, you will go out and attest to every new infill's got a cornerstone.
One of my understanding is you volunteered to do that, so, you know, you can
My
do the
eyesight's not that
documentation.
good.
Mr. Chair, I have one more piece of personal right to bring up.
On the administrative?
Just one?
Just one, but when you were on your holiday and came in through the web thing, I said the most famous line in the history of the board, and no one has given me any props for it. It was on solar, right? And I go, I haven't any idea what I'm talking about. That's not gonna stop me.
That should, yeah, we're gonna have to watch, I'm gonna have to watch that again. So I can actually see you say that.
Problem is, you can't hear the sound on that one.
That's
But
true.
I have it on recording if you need it.
So with this suggestion, he's got the 2 new sections, you said the solar's already in there.
Yeah.
And you're gonna add then the one on the chimneys, did we agree with that? I'm just saying, like, because we wanna do this so that then we talk about it this time, we talk about it one more time, we talk about it one more time, and we quit talking about it?
Correct.
Right.
So yes, if the board would like, I will make that edit.
Yes.
And then I will resend that
Yeah.
out, so that when we discuss this next month, it will have that addition.
It'll
for
have that,
non-historic chimneys.
And we'll also be pointing that out online so the public knows what
Correct.
edit we would like to have added to it. Okay,
Yep.
good. All right.
So it seems like nobody cares about the cornerstone thing?
Well, that's not part of the administrative guidelines, so that's different.
Administrative guy.
These are administrative review guides, yeah, yeah.
That was put in by the city council.
Yeah, so that's already done, yeah, we can't do much. All right, any other discussion on the administrative review guide? I know you care. Any other discussion on administrative review guidelines on the board? Any from the audience? The administrative review guidelines? Those are the guidelines that the staff has to utilize in making any staff approvals. Yeah. It's the updated one, yeah. So anything that's being updated, yes.
Is Link on the update when you send them out?
He's,
Okay.
yeah, he's looking, that's what he's looking. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're not looking at the actual guidelines then, right now? The updated Madison HDBR administrative review guides.
Well, that's what I'm looking at,
Yeah.
but are you saying that this is not the most recent?
No, that is the most.
That,
That is the most recent.
That's the most recent, this is the first, we're going back through the process, this is the first discussion on, even though it's not the first, but we have to go back through it, so this will be the first discussion on that topic. So in June, we'll have our second discussion on it, giving a chance for audience as well for input, and then in July, we would be, taking a vote on it.
Okay, so once again, what is shown in red is the only changes at this point. Everything else is what's existing.
Right, yes, you got it, yes, correct, sorry, yes, sorry.
I wasn't even aware that some of these categories have been expanded as far as I have.
So, all right, with that, then we'll go on to any old business that we have. I don't know of any old business, Brooke.
Have any?
All right, staff report.
Alrighty, so, May Fast Track applications, we had Kathy Chandler at 719 West Main to install a 40 by 50 inch sign at right angle on the front of the building. Cynthia Rasconi at 719 East Second Street, replace existing metal roof with asphalt shingle roof. Cornerstone and / Link Luddington as the representative, 707 Walnut Street to replace existing siding with aluminum, which is the same as the existing, wood or composite. Replace existing doors with new historically appropriate doors of the same material. Jeff Brottingham, 214 East Second Street to paint a 6 by 12 foot sign on the building. And then we have, our May 22 COA review, Joe Breek at 321 Jefferson to install an accessory building behind the primary structure. That has been done. RJL Properties at 613 Walnut Street to rebuild the proposed porch. That has been done. John and Melanie Harrell at 313 West 3rd Street to infill of the standard door on the east side of the garage with historic brick, install galvanized metal siding along the roof line of the garage, and rebuild the rear porch. That has been done. Rebecca Combs at 313 East 4th Street to install a 10-foot by 12-foot wood accessory building with metal roof. That has been done. Fiction Wraps, Andrew Hodges at 310 West Main Street to install a 49-inch by 24-inch Alumicore sign. That has been done. Kim Kedwell Lytle at 314 West Main Street to install, it was a temporary installation of a 4-foot by 8-foot wooden sign. It was not attached to the building. It was leaned up against the building. That has been done. Kathy Taylor at 1010 West Main Street to install porch post and gingerbread to restore historic porch appearance based upon photographic evidence. That has been completed. And then Fill-In Station Liquors at 814 East 2nd Street received a denied staff COA to install a chain link fence with a barbed wire topper, and that was not installed. And that is it.
Any questions for Brooke? All right, with that, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, have a good evening.
What's left of it?
What's left of it? Yeah. Me too.
Even the Madison Courier's tired, I can tell.
Yeah, I would say you definitely deserve a different seat.
Well, I forgot to give her my sheets. Where'd I put my sheets?
Way to go.